And welcome back, everybody. Sorry for the technical issues, but that last match between Jadeem Jedi and Coma literally brought the house down. We are here now with the man himself. How are you feeling?
Feeling really good. You know, if I was really looking to forward to doing the draft here today anyway. It's definitely my best format. And it feels really good to be sitting next to Bazriel here as the two undefeated players. We're both locked in, guaranteed. There's going to be two Dragonborn in the top four here. It feels really good.
Yeah, after yesterday when you guys were really, fighting to get, into the top 8 draft here, and now being 2-0 and securing your top 4 position, how does that feel, Vazriel?
It's amazing. So yesterday we both started off with a loss, I think, at least I did. And yeah, we were both at 1 and 2, that's for sure. So yeah, now sitting here being 2-0, guaranteed in top 4, it feels just great.
So Jadeem Jedi, we just saw you play a really epic match against Coma, taking out the Crocosaur.
Yeah.
And securing victory with a ton of spiders. We were doing a huge countdown in the crowd, just seeing every single spider come up, and that Vilefang Aramite just pulling through for you. Tell us a little bit about your deck and how it all came together.
Sure. So when I draft, I always prioritize staying open and trying to read the signals. And one of the things that I was pretty sure about was that with the level of play that we had here, I'd get very clear signals from my fellow drafters, and I did. I actually started out with a diamond card. My very first pick was a Golden Avenger. There was also a Periphagy in that pack. It was the only one I saw the entire draft. I didn't end up taking it. I mean, in hindsight, obviously, it would have been great, but I just took the best card. Continue to just keep taking the best card in every pack for the next several. My second pick was a Skydancer. My third pick is actually when I started going into the deck, where I took a Psychic Torment, third pick overall. Fourth pick was some Sapphire card, maybe Lightning Brave. And then fifth pick is where I got my first Rotcast, and I said, this is a little bit too good. I don't think this should still be here. Immediately after it was a Demon of Dusk, and I took that one like 6th pick overall. And then I forget the next two. They were Blood and Sapphire mediocre cards, but then a Hatchery Cultivator came back to me on the wheel for my opening pack. So at that point, I was very, very confident that Spiders was just open and I should just move into it. I kept open the possibility of maybe going Boris Vinelash, because in the first pack, I took a number of good Sapphire cards, and I think I had the Dreamsmoke Mystic in the first pack as well. And I noted that there were 2 Vinelashes that were going around. They didn't come back to me, though, so I didn't move into that deck. I stayed in the Venom deck instead. And, I just stuck there for the rest of the draft. It worked out really well. I ended up with probably the best spider deck that I've had in a long time, if not ever. It was insanely good. The only thing that was missing is I didn't get any Periphagies, but my removal overall is pretty good. And I do have 1 Incubation Web, so I'm pretty happy with where it ended up.
Yeah, we saw, countless times during our featured drafting, we just kept seeing those Venom cards go by again and again and again. So, how important is, picking up on those signals and things for a drafter?
Yeah, I think it's more important now than it ever was before. With the 17 card packs and the changes that we had there, it's very easy to get a lot of playable. So you can go into the draft knowing that you're gonna give up on a few of your early picks, even if they're insanely good cards. If you move into another deck that is more open and you have the same quality or better of cards, which is what I ended up doing. I find oftentimes, even when I take that approach of giving up my first couple of picks, so to speak, I oftentimes end up with more playables than I need. I think this time around, because I read the signals correctly, I want to say have something like 6 or 7 really good reserve cards that I could bring in. I did bring in several of them in the couple of matches that I played already here. So, it's don't be afraid to jump ship if your first pick is not working out for you. There's plenty of picks to go around, and you definitely don't have to be married to it.
So you mentioned the Vine lashes that you were seeing, and I hear that Vazriel actually picked up a bunch of those Vine lashes and decided to play a Boris Blastforge deck. So tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so it's one of the decks that Jadim Jedi has brought to the public audience, basically, by writing a 5 Shots article about it. And I really like drafting wild decks in general, so I kind of hoped I was getting one of those, or maybe a ramp elf deck. So I decided to stay open for the first picks. I actually first picked a relic over really good diamond cards because I knew diamond was going to be contested heavily. And yeah, the pack I opened also had a Vine Lash, so I also had it in the back of my mind that if this wheels, I'm probably gonna go for it. And yeah, then I just picked solid cards for the first like 7-8 picks, and then the Vine Lash came back around, and yeah, the first pack for me wasn't too good except for 2 Vine Lashes. But then in the second pack I was past like two Thunderfield Elders. I got a pick 8 Cyclone Shaman, which is insane with the deck, and I loaded up 2 Incubation Webs and 2 Cripples on top of that, so I just got a really, really good pool with probably the best removal out of any player in this draft, and yeah, it's just worked out really good for me.
Yeah, it sounds like you got some really awesome removal there, but now that you're both 2-0, you're going to actually have to face against each other here in the final round. So how do you guys feel about that? So we'll start with Jadim Jedi here.
I feel pretty good because that means that we're both locked into going into the top 4. So I don't mind. I mean, we're going to have a good battle. I do feel like both of our decks are among the top 3 or 4 decks in the entire draft. So I feel like we're at the spot where we deserve to be. His deck's great. And, I mean, we'll see what happens, but at the end of the day, we're both going to make it into the Final 4 here. So I'm feeling really happy about that.
And, you know, going forward, you're both going to have to potentially play each other in the top 4 constructed. So, Vazriel, how do you think your Azure Cannon that you've brought to the table so many times and have, you know, refined over the course of many months, how do you think that's going to match up against Jadim Jedi's Wild Diamond deck?
Okay, so I played yesterday against basically the same deck played by Sedolution, and I beat him. That was mostly because of shards and maybe a little bit of Kismet. But I feel the matchup is in general pretty good for me because we tested it a bunch, and I had games where I brought Wild Diamond down from like 80 HP and 3 Life Drain Root Fathers on board. I just still went through, killed them. So I think the matchup is pretty good for me because they are lacking the good, quick removal against my deck. But yeah, we would obviously prefer to just face off in the finals and beat other guys first.
So you actually, Jadim Jedi, you had to be in the unfortunate position yesterday of playing in the playoff match against your team member Sadolution in a mirror match. So, you know, describe how it is, you know, playing against somebody on your own team. You know, what kind of decisions do you have to make that's a little bit different because, you know, it's something that you play with them every single day, but now you're actually competing on this field.
So it's always tough. I mean, the good news is we knew that one of us was going to go through. The bad news, obviously, one of us is going to have to go home at the end of that match. We both had talked about all of our reserve plans. I mean, literally, when we talked about every single matchup, we were using exactly the same plans for everything. We'd even talked about the mirror match, right, and what we were going to do there. I actually ended up changing my plan a little bit for that match. I kept in the Crocosaurs because what we had done before is we talked about putting in the Periwinkles so that we would be able to get extra value off of the 5-drops that we have. But I ended up staying more aggressive with the Crocosaur and being able to take out the Periwinkle if it would come down. So did switch it up a little bit based on me knowing how he was going to play that one out there.
Yeah, it sounds like you had to make some tough choices there for sure. And, you know, going forward, we wish you both the best of luck. We know you guys are stars and are going to give us an awesome set of matches in the top 4. So good luck to you guys, and good luck to your team.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Alucard, for that interview with the remaining members of Team Dragonborn. And you got to, as Team Dragonborn, you got to be happy to see 2 of your members make it into the Final 4.
Oh, absolutely. It's a strong showing. 3 entered, 2 made it through. That could have very easily not happened. So strong players all around.
And again, it goes back to talking about, this is a multi-day, multi-format tournament. So you could have a bad day and bounce back, and that's exactly what Jadim Jedi has done. Found a way to bounce back from day 1, is in a top position now going into the Final 4, and expecting to try to go for that $40,000 prize.
Oh, that's right, Snake. Strength in both constructed and limited. I cannot wait to see these top 4 matches.
All right, so we had a power issue, but let's go ahead and go over the standings again, just so in case you missed it. Jadim Jedi is 2-0 with his teammate Vazriel of Dragonborn. Then Eagleoff, Master Matchu, Coma, and Value City, all 1-1, all trying to find that top 4 spots going into stage 2 of day 2. And then Bootlace and Sirius not able to make it into contention for the Final 4. But it's not over. I want to stress that enough for everybody who's viewing, is that these players who don't make the top 4 are each fighting for that prize pool, right? So 8th place will walk away with $2,000. So that's $1,000 more than Satalution and Infamous Neo got yesterday. So again, making 8th place is $2,000. That 7th place person makes $3,000. So again, another $1,000, trying to get that, eke that as much value as you can for the remaining players in the tournament. 6th place is $4,000, and 5th place is $5,000. So again, those players that are not going to make the top 4 still battling out for a decent size amount of money, $5,000.
It's a large chunk of change, and every single standing you can claw your way up is another 1,000, as you were pointing out, Snake. So definitely everybody is still going to be playing their very best.
And that's what you expect with these type of players, the caliber of players that we have. We have our final 8 players, the top in the world of Hex, here representing themselves, representing their countries, and really representing their guilds and showing what they have to bring to this tournament. And we've seen some amazing matches from day 1 action with Sirius, who had that 4-0 Blood Sapphire deck, just destroying the competition, and now not going to make the Final 4. So that's got to make those competitors feel a little bit better who are going to make the Final 4, knowing that Blood Sapphire Venom deck is not going to be there.
That's why I love this second round so very much. Limited puts a twist on things. It's not just who has the best deck or who can read the meta. You also have to make sure you get past this round so you can bring your victory home.
So we're going to get ready for our next round in the booster draft. It's going to be Eagleoff versus Master Matchu. And each players are saying good luck, have fun. We'll take a look at opening hands for both players. Eagleoff with a Ruby Shard, Wild Shard, Skewer, Resource Optimizing Infusion Device, Bomb Right, Merry Minstrels, and Wolver Basher. For Master Matchu, looking at 2 Diamond Shards, Abominate, and decides to mulligan down to 2 Diamond Shards, Etherealize, Spirit Eagle, Ethereal Collar, and Gem Soul Feeder.
I'm really interested by this Bomb Right in the main deck. It's going to be very strong tech against Spirits.
Eagleoff playing a Wild Shard, Resource Optimizing Infusion Device for a Ruby Threshold.
Now, you want to get that double Ruby as soon as possible. Skewer and Bomb Right both need it.
Master Matchu plays a Diamond Shard. That'll end his turn. Eagleoff draws a Ruby, plays a Ruby Shard.
It's a little bit of a slower play. Nobody has 1 drops. We're going to see a lot of action around 3 and 4, possibly.
Wolver Basher, we go over to Master Matchu, plays a Blood Shard Gem Soul Feeder online.
Now, Wolver Basher is a pretty interesting troop. Whenever it attacks, it gets +1 attack for each attacking troop this turn. So the bigger your board, the more dangerous that guy becomes.
Draw for Eagleoff is a Night Sky Stargazer.
Night Sky Stargazer cannot play it yet. Can use the adaptable infusion device to get up to 4, and I think we might see that happening soon.
Diamond Shard from Master Matchu, Spirit Eagle online.
Spirit Eagle is a pretty big threat. We've seen this before. When it attacks, you exhaust target opposing troop without flight.
Eaglov deciding whether he wants to resource optimizing diffusion device. For that resource, he does, draws a wild shard, plays that wild shard now at 5.
I think it was a close one, though. He was eyeing that skewer. Dream Eagle is such a big bomb. Getting rid of it as soon as possible is often the right play.
Night Sky Stargazer played by Eaglov. It'll prophesize when the next troop, when this enters play, the next troop in your deck gets +2/+2.
It's also quite possible that Master Machu might try to abominate his Spirit Eagle. Skewer will be really important then. Eaglov not having Skewer up could be pretty big.
We'll see what Master Machu wants to do. He's going to shift Life Drain to the Spirit Eagle.
Are we going to see the Abominate? The resources are closed. It's the best time to do it.
Mana Manana on the Gem Soul Feeder. It looks like Abominate is going to be the play for Master Machu. That's a 6/5 Life Drain Spirit Eagle.
Wow. Huge.
6 damage inbound to Eaglov. Will force a troop to exhaust. This will take Eaglov to 15, Master Machu to 25.
It's very difficult to race a 6/5 by itself, but that life drain means that Master Machu is going to be able to keep his health total very healthy.
Sylvan Performer, the draw for Eaglov.
That's actually pretty good. It allowed him to get an extra resource off that Merry Minstrel. And, well, that gets him one step closer to his 7/7.
Attack by Eaglov, Wolver Basher, Night Sky Stargazer, 5 damage. That Silver Performer was prophesized with the Night Sky Stargazer and Merry Minstrels and Wild Shard for Eaglov.
All right, so that board on Eaglov's side is looking quite healthy.
Draw for Master Machu, Blood Shard, plays the Shard.
We'll see if Master Machu goes for an Etherealize. I could make an argument for getting rid of the Sylvan Performer.
7 damage inbound to Eaglov. Nothing you can do about it. Troops are in the air. Goes to 8 health.
The Sylvan Performer, whenever you play a 5-drop, gives you an extra card, and card advantage often does win games.
Ethereal Caller will bring back the Gem Soul Feeder as a Phantom. Madame Banana, Champion Power put on that Phantom. Draw for Eaglov, Ruby Shard. Plays the Shard.
Wow, this is presenting lethal in the air.
Full swing from Eaglov. Ethereal Caller, 3-cost double diamond threshold, 1/2 troop with flight. When this enters play, transform target troop in your crypt into a Phantom and put it into play. Damage is dealt. Master Machu down to 17 health.
Master Machu at this point is in a pretty commanding position. He's saying, Eaglov, if you have something, you have to play it now or you are dead. Skewer is an option for Eaglov, but it's not going to be enough unless he can take out 2 of these remaining flying troops. It's going to be GG.
Eaglov looking at the board.
Bomb right, could play it, but it's a turn too late. Does not have speed, and so the activation, Bomb Right's ability, deals 1 damage to target champion or troop. It is just too late.
Will decide to play the Bomb Right onto the board. Passes over to Master Machu. His draw, Diamond Shard.
So he's playing the Bomb Right anyway because Master Machu might hold back a troop and not swing with everything.
And an alpha swing from Master Machu. Spirit Eagle will lock down the Bomb Right. And that is going to do it.
Excellent showing.
Master Machu taking game number 1 against Eaglov.
Look at that.
So we're going to go into reserves for both players.
I think it just goes to show you, while Madame Anana is slightly less popular overall, she's incredibly powerful. The ability to bring back troops from the crypt and keep buffs that are put on them, even if something dies, that Ethereal Caller, if the Spirit Eagle had been removed, could bring that back as a 4/4 flyer. You just can't stop that kind of aggression.
Remember, each of these players are fighting for a chance to be a part of the top 4 with Jadim, Jedi, and Vazriel. So each of these games matter, and they want to win to make that top 4. We're just waiting for both players to make their reserves finished for their main deck, and we'll let you know what those changes are.
That's right. If they don't move past this phase, they will be locked out of $40,000.
Eaglov is bringing in Lullaby and Return to the Soil. Sterilization is going to go out. We're going to go down to the match. Take a look at opening hands for both players. Eaglov, triple Wild Shard, Redford Ranger, Hepsi Dryad, and Sky Dancer. Over on the opposite side for Master Machu, double Blood Shard, triple Diamond Shard, Abominate, Chimera Guard, and Gem Soul Feeder. Redford Ranger for Eaglov.
I'm seeing two cards that are very useful against this matchup. Eaglov has both Hempseed Dryad and Sky Dancer.
Warlock of ATR for Master Machu.
The Hempseed Dryad can revert Madame Anana's power off of something, as well as Sky Dancer, which can block those 1/1 phantoms.
Eaglov going in for attack with Redford Ranger. Master Machu down to 17 health. Sky Dancer online for Eaglov.
This is a really fast start for Eaglov.
Diamond Shard for Master Machu. We see the Chimera Guard Fallen online.
I like that play. Chimera Guard Fallen, whenever it attacks, gets plus attack equal to its defense. You can shift that over onto something else, but by playing it now, you raise the possibility of giving life drain later down the line.
Draw for Eaglov, plays a Wild Shard. Redford Ranger inbound. 2 damage brings Master Machu down to 15 health, and Merry Minstrels for Eaglov.
This is really careful play by Eaglov. We've seen him do something similar before, holding the Hempseed Dryad until you need it and then surprising somebody with reversion.
Spirit Bound Spy, the draw for Master Machu, plays a Blood Shard. Gem Soul Feeder, now active.
And we'll see if Master Machu gets aggressive. I think he's likely just going to build up his board, get as many things out as possible, and then go into a holding pattern.
Spirit Bound Spy for Master Machu. That'll end his turn. We'll see if he wants to attack. No, he doesn't. That will end his turn. We'll go over to Eaglov, draws a Sylvan Performer, plays a Wild Shard.
It is important to note that Eaglov, while he has a very large board, has 0 Ruby Threshold. Nothing. And so he cannot play either the Fury Seeker or the Sandstone Rumbler until he finds 2 of those.
Sylvan Performer for Eaglov, Redford Ranger inbound to Master Machu. This will connect. This brings Master Machu down to 13 health. Hempseed Dryad online.
You know, in some ways, Master Machu is in a sticky situation. He's got a number of troops, but he can't afford to block with any of them. He needs them.
Spirit Eagle, the draw for Master Machu. It will go online. Spirit Eagle, 4-cost, 3/2 troop with flight. When this attacks, exhausts target opposing troop without flight.
I wonder if we end up seeing a bait for that Hempseed Dryad. Might see a shift putting either Life Drain or Chimera Guard Fallen onto something that then calls for a reversion. That will free up Abominate later on next turn, or perhaps turn after that.
Looks like shift come from the Chimera Guard Fallen to the Spirit Eagle. That'll end Master Machu's turn. Ruby Shard for Eaglov, plays the Shard. Activation of Might Singer Linger will put a Gigantosaur in his hand.
That 7/7 is no joke.
Attack with the Redford Ranger alone to Master Machu.
It's intriguing to see Eaglov be so conservative.
Chimera Guard Fallen will block Phantom created because of Madame Anana. Gigantosaur for Eaglov.
Wow, Lullaby, what a great pickup. Now Eaglov has 2 forms of reversion.
Spirit Bound Spy, the draw for Master Machu.
While this board is big, Eaglov only has 1 troop with Skyguard, so only 1 troop can block.
Spirit Eagle swinging in, preventing Sky Dancer from blocking. This is 5 damage to Eaglov, down to 16 health. Ethereal Caller for Master Machu, and he'll be able to bring that Chimera Guard Fallen back as a Phantom.
It's actually not a bad place to be. As long as the Spirit Eagle remains alive, he can continue to force damage through, and Eaglov can't block.
Ruby Shard for Eaglov.
It's a welcome pickup. Now he can play everything in his hand.
Gigantosaur inbound to Master Machu.
You have to wonder if Eagolov's characteristic, careful, methodical play is starting to hurt him a little bit here. He needs to start swinging in faster and harder if he wants to start destroying all of these flyers.
Sandstone Rumbler for Eagleoff. This is going to do 5 damage. Master Matthew at 8. Hempseed Dryad going to revert the Spirit Eagle.
Strong play. And, for all Master Machu knows, that Abominate is now open.
Shadowblade Assassin, the draw for Master Matthew.
He's going for it.
Abominate looks like to be the play for Master Matthew. And he does. A 6/5 Spirit Eagle.
If you're going to buff something up, the Spirit Eagle is an excellent choice because not only is it so crucial, it needs to stay alive to get past that Sky Dancer, but also it's really difficult for a deck like Eagleoff's to remove.
Gem Soul Feeders shift over to Spirit Eagle so it has life drain. Master Matthew trying to decide what he's going to send over. It's an Ethereal Caller, Spirit Eagle, and a Phantom. Phantom will lock down the Sky Dancer.
This is such a brilliant couple of turns because what you're seeing is Master Machu baiting out a Lullaby.
And Lullaby from Eagleoff, so no damage dealt, all troops reverted that were attacking.
And these excellent draft players know there could be a trick coming, and they play around it.
Draws a Wild Shard, Fury Seeker online for Eagleoff. Ruby Shard, as that 3 resources, Skewer is available.
You can almost see an argument for a full swing.
And here we go, full swing from Eagleoff. Let's see how Master Matthew is going to respond.
He has 4 blockers available and only 8 health, plus a Skewer will bring that down to 3 if Eaglov uses that on one of those Phantoms.
Skewer, again, 3 cost, quick action, deal 3 damage to target troop. If it has 1 defense or less, deal 3 damage to the target troop's controller. Blocks are assigned.
And we do see 5 damage.
5 damage, so that means Skewer will be able to do lethal. You see Eagleoff counting the damage.
Want to double and triple check that.
And we see Master Matthew at 3 health. Skewer going to be played, and that is going to do it. Eagleoff is going to take game 2 against Master Matthew.
That's right, evening it up, which means it's anybody's round.
We continue to see these matches go to game 3. These players are fighting for every bit of a win they can get.
Right, no blowouts here. All top caliber drafters pitting their wits and their luck against each other.
Both players trying to decide the cards they're going to bring from the reserves for this final match between them. Critical win for both players. Both players trying to make it into the top 4. They need a win here to do that.
They do. No more second chances.
Master Matthew looking. Looks like Eagleoff has saved his deck. He's ready to go.
These last-minute revisions, these last-minute reserves, your last chance to bring out some secret tech to surprise your opponent.
Getting down to the final seconds before decks will be saved, and we will go into our final match between Master Matthew and Eagleoff. Let's go ahead down to the tournament floor for this match. Again, these players wanting to eke out that win. We'll look at opening hands for both players. Opening hand for Eagleoff, double Ruby Shard, Wild Shard, Staring Oration, Resource Optimizing Infusion Device, Sandstone Rumbler, and Merry Minstrels for Master Matthew, Blood Shard, double Diamond Shard, Abominate, Inflict Doubt, Neophyte Awakener, and Warlock of Aetier.
I feel like Resource Infusion Device often gets a bad rap. People tend to wheel it and then they don't pick it very highly. But we've seen Eagleoff use it again and again to great effect. That extra little bit of ramp, getting to 5 resources from 4 or to 6 from 5, has really been the difference in his matchups.
Master Matthew has mulligan to 6, plays a diamond, passes it over to Eagleoff, plays a Ruby Shard, And resource optimizing infusion device. Looks like he's going to go for that wild.
Pretty important to get all of your thresholds.
Draw for Master Matthew, Diamond Shard, plays a Blood Shard. Draw for Eagle-Ov, Ruby Shard, plays the Ruby.
There's going to be a tough call for Eagle-Ov if he doesn't draw a elf. If he doesn't draw an elf, he's not going to be able to play the Merry Minstrels.
Diamond Shard for Master Matthew, and Grim Harvester is online. Madame Banana activated, being put onto the Grim Harvester. Draw for Eagle-Ov, Flamehead Invoker. Plays a Shard, Merry Minstrels.
Well, it looks like he doesn't care about those extra resources.
Draw for Master Matthew is a Shard Ward, plays a Diamond Shard.
Now, Shard Ward is not quite enough. 2-2 still loses to a 2-3.
Draw for Eagle-Ov, Wolver Basher.
And at this point, both players are jockeying for position, trying to build up their board.
Eagle-Ov on the attack, Merry Minstrels, 2 damage. Master Matthew down to 17 health. And Night Sky Stargazer for Eagle-Ov.
And I've got to say, Eagle-Ov in a slightly more commanding position, but that top deck.
Master Matthew with Sin the Ether Drake Nomad, the legendary that he got from the draft. 7 cost, 5/6 artifact troop with flight. When Sin Ether Drake Nomad attacks, void the top card of your deck. Create a copy of each card voided by Sin Ether Drake Nomad and put them into your hand. You can play this for free.
The dream, the legend, the dragon. This is what we call an amazing limited bomb.
And that will end Master Matthew's turn. Draw for Eagle-Ov is a Rotroot Enchanter.
Oh, this is again one of those tough decisions because he played the Merry Minstrel early. He doesn't have that critical 5th resource.
Swing in, Night Sky Stargazer, 3 damage. Master Matthew down to 14 health. Flame Hand Invoker online with a Wolver Basher.
Looks like he doesn't care too much about his larger drops. He's like, I'll get resources eventually.
Abominate the draw for Master Matthew.
Abominate is a little bit of a tricky play with only 1 troop on the field.
We go over to Eagle-Ov, draws a Wild Shard. He was looking for that Wild Shard to get to 5, and he has. We're going to go to attack. Merry Minstrels, Night Sky Stargazer, and Wolver Basher inbound to Master Matthew.
Whenever your opponent is stuck, if they don't have resources, don't have troops, whatever the case may be, push your advantage. Eagle-Ov knows this lesson well. Hit them as hard and fast as possible, make it even more difficult for them to recover.
Grim Harvester going to block Wolver Basher. We see Master Matthew with that Shield Ward, or Shard Ward.
Shard Ward that shields you from damage.
Master Matthew down to 11 health, and Rotroot Enchanter for Eagle-Ov.
This is looking pretty grim for Master Matthew. Eagle-Ov sitting comfortable at 21 health.
And that Rotroot Enchanter is a 5/7 Steadfast Skyguard troop. Sudden Awakening will bring back the Grim Harvester for Master Matthew.
It was a great little trick. Put target troop in your crypt that died this turn back into play.
Grim Harvester number 2 for Master Matthew. He'll end his turn. We go to Eagle-Ov. His draw, a Wild Shard. Plays the Wild Shard.
Should also point out that both of those Grim Harvesters have Swift Strike.
So inbound with the Merry Minstrels, Night Sky Stargazer, Wolver Basher, and Rotroot Enchanter.
Swift Strike will allow them to double block one of these things and deal damage before a Night Sky Stargazer or Wolver Basher can deal damage back to them.
Eagle-Ov, though, with Stirring Oration in hand.
That's right. Tricks win games.
Stirring Oration, 2 cost, quick action. Target troop gets +2/+2 this turn. If you control a card with cost 5 or greater, that troop gets an additional +3/+3.
And Eagle-Ov does that Rotroot Enchanter. Not only is it a monstrous 5/7, but it also makes that Stirring Oration even better.
Master Matthew determining blocks. Looks to double block the Wolver Basher. And 5 damage going to hit Master Matthew. Phantom going to be stepping in front of the Rotroot Enchanter.
I think we have almost lethal
Stirring Oration on the Wolver Basher. That will eliminate both Grim Harvester. And a Phantom as a result for Master Matthew, who's sitting at 10 health. Eagle comfortably at 21. Draw for Master Matthew is a Diamond Shard.
Once again, we see the really careful play by Eaglov. He could have gunned it. He could have gone for the win, but he doesn't. He holds back. He's like, I've got board advantage. I'll just wait until next turn.
Eagle does have that resource optimizing diffusion device. Looks like he's going to use it at the end of Master Matthew's turn. Now at 7 resources, his draw return to the soil.
So he could play a 7/7, but the Sandstone Rumbler will deal damage when it enters play.
Using the shift ability, Flamehead Invoker's powers will go to Merry Minstrels. And here we go, Alpha Swing, carefully clicking every troop. They're inbound to Master Matthew.
Let's see if he can survive one more turn. Shard Ward in hand means he can negate all damage from one shard.
Master Matthew deciding how he's going to make this play. Blocks the Wolver Basher. Eagle going to pump Merry Minstrels by 1.
So again, threatening lethal.
Shard Ward from Master Matthew is going to buy him a 1 more turn.
But he's still on the ropes.
Eagle activating Mightsinger Lindra creates a Gigantosaur and Sandstone Rumbler online. 5 damage to Master Matthew. That's going to take him to 3.
Basically, for Master Matthew to get back into this game, he needs some way to wipe the entire board. And Extinction, even if it were in Armies of Myth, set 3, he still needs a second blood.
Master Matthew knows it's over, and that is a win for Eagle a very critical win for Eagle Just put that pressure on, continue to just come in and come at Master Matthew, and ultimately ended up with that victory.
Oh, what an amazing couple of games. I think it just goes to show you, calm, careful play takes the day.
What a competitor. Went up to shake Master Matthew's hand after all of that. He knows what's at stake. He knows that, that puts him that much closer, but still went up to Master Matthew, said, hey, good game. And that's really good sportsmanship.
It's classy. It's classy. You got to respect that.
All right, so we have Alucard down on the tournament floor with our winner, Eagle
All right, I'm here with our winner, Eaglov. Congratulations on making the top 4 of the Hex Invitational. How are you feeling?
Much better than before this game. I think, yes, I made it.
Oh, man, you had a very aggressive approach to the last 2 games. It was a great comeback after that first game loss. What was going through your mind after that first loss?
I was mind only that I should have Lullaby in my deck. And I placed to my deck Return to the Soul, yes, that destroys artifacts, because I know that Master Matthew got this giant Drake and good artifact that gives him big troops. So I put it from my reserves and it saves me.
So looking forward to the top 4, we already see Jadim Jedi and Vazriel in there. How are you going to approach taking them on?
I think I need just play well, and I'll do it.
All right, you heard it here. He's going to be playing well, guys. Good luck in the top 4.
Thank you very much.
All right, so interview with Alucard and Eagle securing his spot in the top 4. He's got to be pretty happy about that. Russian players and family back at home have to be happy with that as well.
Oh yeah, I mean it's got to be the best feeling in the world. You're edging right on the cusp of moving forward, and then you secure it.
Some other updates as far as tournaments going on. Vazriel is tied with Jadim Jedi 1-1. Bootlace defeated Sirius 2-0, so that actually gives a victory for Bootlace. And Sirius will fall to 0-3. And Coma is tied with Value City 1-1.
Wow. So these players currently jockeying for position. Remember, every ranking they achieve gets them another $1,000.
So we're really looking at 3 players already secured, locked themselves into the Final Four. We've got Jadim Jedi, we got Vazriel, 2 members of Dragonborn, and now we have Eagleoff. So there's a lot of tension there. There's a lot of rivalry between those players. You have Eagleoff and Vazriel, who are arguably the most have the most matchups versus each other. You have the possibility of Dragonborn versus Dragonborn if they're paired up in the beginning to where they eliminate a Dragonborn and one goes on to the next round, or they're in separate brackets and then they go against each other in the finals. I mean, this is going to be an exciting Final Four, an exciting final match for sure.
Oh yeah, and we should also mention 3 different deck types have made its way into the top 4. We have Wintermoon, we have Azure Cannon, and we have Banks Ramp.
Yes, so 3 different decks, and that just kind of shows the diversity of Hex right now. 3 different decks, 3 different styles coming in, making it, and again, the adversity that these players had to go through. Jadim Jedi going through, crawling his way to day number 2, secured his spot with his teammate, the Dragonborn, with Vazriel, and now Eagleoff joining that group of people.
Yeah, really, really exciting.
So we have these matches that are finishing up will determine who that 4th person is going to be. And let's take a look at Jadim Jedi's deck, the Rutherford Ramp deck. It is it is Diamond Wild with a splash of Ruby due to Shard of Savagery, 3 Puck the Dreambringer, 2 Howling Brave, 2 Succulent Cluckadon, 4 Angel of Dawn, a Jadim, which, that seems pretty fair to say. Let's have a Jadim in my deck. 4 Crocosaur, 4 Eternal Sage, 3 Balthazar, 4 Arborian Rootfather, a Charge Colossus, of course. Wouldn't be a Rutherford Banks deck if you didn't see a Charge Colossus somewhere. 4 Shard Call, 2 Chlorophilia, and 2 Martyr.
I really, really like this deck. I think mostly because of those shard calls and those sneak Shard of Savagery. It's listed as a dual shard deck, but I would almost classify it as a tri-shard deck because Ruby is so very important for how it functions and how it makes reserve choices. Using Periwinkle or even changing out those gems in your Arborian Rootfathers will give you a huge leg up against certain matchups.
So let's take a look at the reserves of this deck as well. 4 Carnosaurus, 2 Succulent Cluckadon, 2 Periwinkle, another Charge Colossus, 2 Soul Marble, 2 Martyr, and 2 Solitary Exile. And what matches would he consider bringing some of those cards in?
Well, you want Soul Marble against anything that has targeted removal, especially if it's not in blood. If you can get a Soul Marble down and you can turn that into a Soul Armaments, giving all of your troops +2/+2 Steadfast and Spell Shield, you basically invalidate Crocosaurs on your opponent's side, or if they have a Martyr of their own, or anything really, you're free. All of your troops, they stick, and you can start swinging in to deal damage. Periwinkle is good if you're worried about interrupt effects. The second Periwinkle, it copies and cannot be interrupted on the chain, and so you get at least one of them down if you could play a 5-drop with a Periwinkle on the board.
So I'm getting an update from the tournament floor. Jadim Jedi defeated Vazriel 2-1 by burying his entire deck with 2 Psychic Torments. Again, Spiders, double Psychic Torments, and burying Vazriel's deck.
That's my favorite way to win in draft. Call it Spider Fall. You get an Airmite out and the Psychic Torment, and then every spider buries more and more and more and more. It's beautiful.
So we're going to take a look at Vazriel's deck. He is playing Azure Cannon. It is a Ruby Sapphire deck. In the main, 4 Shards of Innovation, 4 Azure Fate Sorceress, 4 Mesmeric Hypnoscientist, 3 Reese the Crushcrawler, 2 Subterranean Spies, 3 Jags, the Blade Master, 2 Cerulean Mentalist, 1 Duplicitous Duke, 4 Arcane Focus, a Burn, and then 4 Crackling Bolt, Counter Magic, and Time Ripple.
And we've seen this deck in action before. It's all about those explosive plays. You want to deal as much damage in one turn before your opponent can respond. And the key card to make that happen is the Azure Fate Sorceress. You put a quick gem in there and gems that deal damage. They'll inspire any troop of cost 4 or greater, and then when they come into play, they will also deal damage as well, and that can just completely turn the tide of a game that you thought was lost.
Let's take a look at the reserves for that deck, playing 4 Buccaneer, 3 Cerulean Mirror Knight, 3 Heatwave, 3 Burn, a Mastery of Time, and Cerulean Mentalist. What stands out to you about these reserves?
Well, again, we see this theme for all of our constructed decks. Where is Benvolio? These heat waves, these burns, they're clearly reserve options for a more aggressive deck. None of these decks were brought to the Invitational, so many of these are dead against our top 4 winners that are currently there. Buccaneer's a strong option against mid-range, anything with vampires in it, anything with slower, more expensive troops, Buccaneers can really punish. And then, of course, we have Cerulean Mirror Knight. Whenever you can get card advantage, you probably want to pursue that.
So we're getting an update from the tournament floor. Coma has defeated Value City 2-1. So as the tournament unfolds, 1 spot left. Everyone trying to get their spot in. Coma trying to fight and get in to be a part of this. And again, we see throughout this tournament, especially today, really, where we had the draft, people were picking their decks. You know, we talked about the draft archetypes. We talked about the way the people were going to go and building their decks. And these matches continually going 2-1, 2-1, 2-1. And every player is bringing their A game.
Yeah, I can't remember the last time I saw a draft that was this close. There's almost always 1 or 2 matches where somebody gets steamrolled. Whether or not they just got cut out of a shard or they didn't know how to recover when their picks started being edged into by another player. These players have it to an art.
All right, let's take a look at our third finalist, their deck. It's going to be Wild Sapphire Winter Moon for Eagleoff. This is going to be 4 Shard of Instinct, 2 Carnosaurus, 3 Brown Fox Scout, 2 Buccaneer, 8 Crocosaur, Windsinger, Master of the Hunt, 4 Arborean Rootfather, 4 Focus, Arcane Focus, 4 Peak, 4 Time Ripple, 4 Chlorophilia, 4 Counter Magic, 4 Oracle Song, and that one of Mass Polymorph Dingler.
This deck is so interesting because it's a deck that Eagleoff has been tinkering with for months. You know, his initial version ran many fewer Rootfathers and really went all in on those Crocosaurs. It's, I think, very interesting to see him cut down, remove those Crocosaurs, and instead say, you know what, Arborean Rootfather's my main win con. It's very hard for people to remove with Spell Shield. I'm just going to rely on those, and I want to up my chances that I'll draw into one.
And for his reserves, 2 Sapper's Charge, 2 Verdict and the Ancient Kings, 2 Carnosaurus, 2 Cripple, a Scorn of Oberon, 4 Succulent Cluckodon, a Return to the Soil, and another Mass Polymorph Dingler. What do you think about his reserves?
Well, again, you see many decisions in here that are worried about Benvolio. They're worried about that aggressive deck. Succulent Cluckodon and Carnosaurus are good examples of this. I think almost, I don't want to say by accident, because it's very possible Eagleoff predicted with his long rivalry against Vazriel this kind of deck, but Sapper's Charge, Carnosaurus, and even Succulent Cluckodon to some degree is excellent tech against an Azure Cannon. If you can remove the Azure Fate Sorceress before it can deal its damage, well, that's going to put Azure Cannon behind. So perhaps we see this history between these 2 players manifesting itself in these reserves.
So Coma has secured the 4th spot, and we have our final 4 going in to this tournament. All 4 players looking to make that win and make it into the finals, that much closer to $40,000, and it's going to be an amazing fight.
Oh yeah, what an amazing milestone for these players. It's been a long road. First they had to win the qualifying event, then they had to win round number 1 constructed, and now they had to do limited. It's a staggering amount of work.
And let's take a look at that final deck. This is going to be Coma's Winter Moon deck. Wild Sapphire, running 4 Shard of Instinct, 4 Azure Fate Sorceress, 2 Risa Crustcrawler, 1 Archmage Renlock, 3 Arborean Rootfather, 4 Crocosaur, 2 Windsinger, Master of the Hunt, 4 Counter Magic, 3 Peak, 4 Time Ripple, and 4 Chlorophilia, along with a single Mass Polymorph Dingler, 1 Verdict of the Ancient Kings, and 4 Arcane Focus.
Well, it just goes to show you, looking at this deck list, how just because you have the same shards and even the same champion doesn't mean that the decks are going to be the same. Very different deck lists when you get right down to it. We see Koma focusing on Azure Fate Sorceress and Spell Shield to carry the day. Also, much more of an emphasis on Crocosaurs to eat up smaller troops and gain card advantage. This is a bit more of a troop-heavy deck, and perhaps a little bit more aggressive when it comes to the mid-range plays.
So we have 4 players now locked in for the Final Four. We have Jadeem Jedi with his Rutherford Banks. We have Vazriel with Azure Cannon. We have 2 Winter Moon decks from Eaglov and Koma. Very interesting. 2 Dragonborns. Rutherford Banks was tech devised by Jadeem Jedi. Going with that, we have Eaglov and his Winter Moon deck, that's been his deck. He's been there all the time. And Vazriel with his Azure Cannon and Koma with their Winter Moon deck. Let's take a look at the top 4 again. Jadeem Jedi is going to be against Eaglov and Vazriel versus Koma. So this is going to be our matchups for the Final Four. Looks like the Dragonborns have dodged the matchup versus, so we could see the opportunity of both Dragonborns making it into the finals. Again, this is going to be an interesting matchup. Rutherford Banks versus Winter Moon. What do you think about this matchup between Jadeem Jedi and Eaglov?
I think it's going to be a real test of skill. Eaglov has the most experience, I think, out of anybody with Winter Moon, whereas Jadeem Jedi really pioneered this Ruby Wild Banks ramp deck. To see the two of them face off, skillful deck builders, skillful tinkerers, both, is going to be a real treat.
Again, both these players with a lot of tournament history. Eaglov, arguably one of the players with the most tournament background or history. Jadeem Jedi, the creator of the Rutherford Banks deck, is trying to take it all the way to the finals. Now let's look at our bottom bracket. We have Vazriel and Koma. Vazriel with his Azure Cannon deck, and Koma, another Winter Moon deck, so we're not going to see Winter Moon on Winter Moon. What do you think of this matchup between Azure Cannon and this Winter Moon deck from Koma?
Well, Koma has surprised us throughout this tournament. Very strong play throughout. But if I had to give a little breakdown, I think Vazriel might have the edge, if only because he's been practicing against Winter Moon and practicing against Eaglov so very much. They fought each other again and again on the field, tournament after tournament. And if there's one deck Vazriel knows how to play against, it is Winter Moon. So
this Final Four will determine who is going to be in the finals. Now let's talk about money. Let's talk about, players are trying to get to $40,000. Fourth place walks away with $9,000. So making the top 4, you're already making $4,000 off the 5th spot. Third place walks away with $13,000. And of course, second place, $20,000. And our champion and our first ever Hex Invitational winner will walk away with $40,000. And imagine a change of their life in a weekend,
yeah,
in a game that was envisioned by Corey Jones. We are here now in the Final Four match. What kind of pressure do you think is going to be on these players?
Well, like you said, it's life-changing. I can only imagine what these players are feeling right now.
All right, so we're going to go to our semifinals match. So it's going to be, this is interesting, so I'm being told that we're going to do each match one at a time, and we're going to start off with Jadeem Jedi versus Eaglov. So that means Koma and Vazriel are going to have to wait to see what happens. So Jadeem Jedi versus Eaglov in this match. Rutherford Banks versus Winter Moon.
I think what we're going to see is a race. Both of these decks tend to rely on a lot of resources. Winter Moon wants to get really high so they can keep interrupts up, those counter magic, those suffocates. You always have to be presenting open resources. For Banks, however, you're really looking at trying to ramp up as fast as possible, get stuff on the board, big things that your opponent cannot stop, swing in for victory.
Both these players playing for a shot at the finals for $40,000. I know Jadeem Jedi would love to get in the finals. A lot of people, with him going 1-3, going into day number 2, he's trying to redeem himself. He's trying to show that he is the best Hex player in the world, and this is that moment where he's going to be able to do that.
Well, do you remember Sadalucian, his teammate, saying he thought Jadim Jedi had the best chance of taking the tournament? Sadalucian had a slightly better tournament record, but Jadim Jedi had knocked him out, got all the way here, and now that prediction might just come true.
And just looking at a raw number or statistics, Jadim Jedi has a really good tournament record against these players. Will he be able to continue that? Will he be able to push and find his way into the finals? Well, time will tell. Again, Rutherford Banks versus Winter Moon. Rutherford Banks, a recent winner with IQ number 12 with Sadalucian, really wanted to keep it a secret. Sadalucian wanted to get into this tournament, took it, went 12-0 with it. It's a strong deck. It's a powerful deck. It's interesting to see what's going to happen next.
It's also a deck that was designed to beat Winter Moon. When you think about it, Rutherford Banks is expressly to circumvent removal and interrupts. If you can bring something back with Rutherford Banks' ability, not only does it not get interrupted, but you don't care if your previous plays were removed in some way. You're still going to have something on the board, and that is what Winter Moon hates the worst.
All right, so we're going to go down to the tournament floor for our semifinals match with Jadim Jedi versus Eaglov. The winner of this game, or this match, will go into the finals. We'll take a look at opening hands for both players.
Oh, you can just feel the tension. Each player settling into their chair, getting their muscles all loose, ready for anything.
We will definitely see calculated plays from both players. Eagleov's opening hand, double Wild Shard, Oracle Song, Arcane Focus ×2, Arborean Rootfather, and Chlorophilia. For Jadim Jedi, Diamond Shard, Wild Shard, Shard Call, Charge Colossus, Arborean Rootfather. We'll play that Shard Call, Balthazar, and Angel of Dawn in hand. Over to Eaglov, draws a Carnosaurus, plays a Wild Shard, and we'll go over to Jadim Jedi.
It's interesting that Eaglov kept this hand. I think he feels safe because of the Arborean Rootfather. It allows him to draw extra cards and look for that Sapphire.
Draw for Eaglov, Wild Shard. Will play the Wild Shard.
Now, this is slightly unfortunate. There is a brown Fox Scout on the top of Eaglov's deck, but he doesn't have the Sapphire necessary to play it.
Chlorophilia for the ramp. He'll end his turn, go over to Jadim Jedi, plays a Wild Shard. Chlorophilia of his own for ramp.
And with every one of those, Jadim Jedi gets closer to the 5 drops, which make the bulk of his deck.
Brown Fox Scout on top of Eagleov's deck again.
Oh no.
That is going to end his turn. Over to Jadim Jedi, draws a Crocosaur, plays a Wild Resource, and Eternal Sage online. In response, Arborean Rootfather will be activated. Brown Fox Scout into Eagleov's hand, draws an Arborean Rootfather, activates the ability, going to draw a card, finds an Oracle Song.
So this is actually really punishing Eaglov for this risky keep. No Sapphire means you cannot use any of your draw effects.
Chlorophilia for Jadim Jedi, Eternal Sage on the board.
And Chlorophilia will allow Jadim Jedi to put in a bunch of damage. Every wild threshold gives +3/+3 to another troop.
So an 8/8 Eternal Sage inbound. This takes Eaglov down to 13 health. His draw is a Carnosaurus.
At this point, you just need blockers.
Plays a Carnosaurus.
Normally, you can use that Carnosaurus to battle an opposing troop, and when you do so, you gain 2 health. But 5/5, it beats a 2/2.
Draw for Jadim Jedi is a Jadim. Will Balthazar, he'll gain 5 health, draw 5 cards. We see a Balthazar, Shard Call, Wild Shard, and Diamond Shard. Balthazar, 6-cost, 1/2 troop. When Balthazar arrives upon the field, he'll find the greatest troops amongst your band and Gift of Health, and 1 troop's defense with yield, 1 troop's attack with likewise fill your hand. Eternal Sage inbound, Carnosaurus will block. Shard Call from Jadim Jedi.
Yeah, this is getting rough. Eaglov on the ropes. He needs a Sapphire straight away, or he's not going to be long for this world.
Jadim Jedi discards the Charge Colossus, finds a Sapphire that Eagleov's been looking for.
Yes, this is big. This is huge. Eaglov now able to search through his deck and find all of those drops that he's been looking for.
Arcane Focus finds a Shard of Instinct. Looks like he's going to activate Winter Moon, Arcane Focus, and Carnosaurus back into Eagleoff's deck. When you play these, he'll be able to draw a card. Carnosaurus going to target that Balthazar, gain some health.
That's such a rough decision. You can kill the Balthazar, but killing Balthazar is almost what Jadim Jedi wants. He has 7 charges and can bring it back for even more card draw.
Wild Shard for Jadim Jedi activates Eternal Sage. It's an 8/8 again. Inbound to Eagleoff. Forced to block with the Carnosaurus.
Yeah, and if Jadim Jedi brings back that Balthazar, that's going to be another 8 cards.
Rutherford Banks brings back Charge Colossus and a Crocosaur online. Jadim Jedi looking to put on the pressure.
Yeah, Eaglov needs answers now.
Draw for Eagleoff is a Chlorophyll. You can see that's not what he was looking for.
Well, if he survives one more turn, and it's quite possible he has a lot of chump blockers, a Mass Polymorph Dingler could be the out that Eaglov is hoping.
Chlorophyll and Carnosaurus put back into Eagleoff's deck.
And Mass Polymorph Dingler will reveal each opponent's hand and then revert and transform each opposing troop everywhere into Dinglers.
And an Angel of Dawn for Jadim Jedi. That will be played for free.
It's not looking good.
Inbound, we see the Eternal Sage, the Charge Colossus, and the Crocosaur. 2 Brown Fox Scouts for Eagleoff, so we will be able to block some of this damage, stepping in front of the Eternal Sage and Charge Colossus. 5 damage, Eagleoff down to 10 health. And Jadim Jedi sitting way comfortably at 32.
Yeah, the health difference is massive at this point.
Arborean Rootfather will do 8 damage to Eagleoff, take him to 2. Jadim Jedi will gain 8 health, goes up to 40. Time Ripple for Eagleoff.
I'm not sure he can come back from this to play the Mass Polymorph Dingler. He would need 8 resources. He only has 7.
Activation of Winter Moon.
Now, one possible play, and this is what I think Eaglov is trying to do at this point, is to put extra troops into his deck. Sheep troops, things like those Brown Fox Scouts. He also has a bunch of draw in his hand. Using Arcane Focus and Oracle Song, Eaglov would then be able to search for as many blockers as possible and then use that to hopefully buy himself one more turn.
Jadim Jedi. This match obviously means something to both players. Sitting at 40 health. Eaglov at 2 health. Jadim Jedi has a huge board. And Eagleoff needs to find an answer. You're right. Mass Polymorph Dingler, not going to be an option. I don't think that Eagleoff is going to be able to come back for this. Jadim Jedi wanting to get this win early to solidify his position going into the finals.
Oh, well, you know, never say never. We've seen people come back from less. Remember, Sirius, day number 1, came back from 1 health.
1 health indeed. And that Venom deck, not a factor, though, in the Final Four. As we get ready to go back to action, we had some issues, but we're going to resolve those here shortly. And here we go. Back to the game. So we see Arcane Focus for Eagleoff finds a Time Ripple and Chlorophyll.
Time Ripple is something. The more of those you have, the fewer troops hit you in the face.
Oracle Song finds a Shard of Instinct and an Arborean Rootfather. And another Oracle Song, and that is going to do it. Jadim Jedi is going to take game number 1 in this Final Four matchup.
Wow, what incredibly massive victory for Jadim Jedi. Just overwhelming. 40-0.
Jadim Jedi has to feel pretty comfortable, but I'm sure he's not going to take his opponent for granted as both players go into reserves. An important match for Jadim Jedi and for his opponent Eagleoff. Eagleoff wanting to find a win to force a game 3. Jadim Jedi wanting to get that win to make the finals.
Now, there are some reserve options that we might see here. Things like Return to the Soil or Scorn of Oberon can take care of artifact troops, and there are many artifact troops in Jadim Jedi's deck. He uses Charge Colossus, and he uses those Eternal Sages. Very strong. We've seen them again and again wrecking people's face.
Both players carefully selecting their cards. Down to the last few seconds, and we'll go into game number 2. Jadim Jedi with the lead, 1-0 over Eaglov.
Can see an extra polymorph Dingler being put in there. Makes sense. A lot of big troops that need to be removed. Might as well turn them into Dinglers.
Both players saving their decks. We'll bring you this game 2 between Eaglov and Jadim Jedi. A very critical match for both players. One trying to stay in, one trying to go to the finals. And here we go. We'll take a look at opening hands for both players. Eaglov, double Wild Shard, double Chlorophylla, Peak, Arcane Focus, and Carnosaurus. For Jadim Jedi, double Diamond Shard, double Wild Shard, Soul Marble, Arborean Rootfather, and Balthazar. Draw for Eaglov. Windsinger, Master of the Hunt, plays a Wild Shard, and Chlorophylla will allow him to ramp up to 3. That'll end his turn. We'll go to Jadim Jedi.
This is really interesting to see Eaglov keeping a hand very similar to his first one. No Sapphire.
Balthazar, the draw for Jadim Jedi. Soul Marble online. That'll end his turn. Arborean Rootfather. For Eaglov, we see Chlorophylla for the ramp. And he will put the Arborean Rootfather back in the deck. He finds Mass Polymorph Dingler.
A great pickup when you have a bunch of Sapphire. Not so much when you're still fishing.
Oh, Jadim Jedi finds an Angel on turn 3.
Oh.
Off the top, an Angel of Dawn. As we go over to Eaglov, who finds a Sapphire Shard, plays that shard, and looks to Arcane Focus.
This can be game-changing. Eaglov is going to be searching desperately for a Time Ripple or something else that can get the Angel off the board.
Going to activate his champion ability. Looks like Arcane Focus. No. He is. Arcane Focus and Chlorophylla going to go back into his deck. He'll be able to peek for 1. Finds a Crocosaur.
Crocosaur's not a bad pickup. If Jadim Jedi lucks into a second Angel of Dawn, we could see a pretty big blowout.
Activation of counters on Soul Marble. Now out to 3. Draws a Periwinkle. Attack from Jadim Jedi, 4 damage inbound, nothing Eaglov can do, goes down to 17 health.
Periwinkle is part of that reserve tech we were talking about, great against interrupts.
Eaglov finds a Wild Shard, plays a Sapphire Shard, and Windsinger, Master of the Hunt. Jadim Jedi will put the Arborean Rootfather back in his deck, finds a Crocosaur.
Now, you saw Jadim Jedi put his Arborean Rootfather back into the deck right away, because if he had waited, it would have given Eaglov a draw.
2 counters on Soul Marble for Jadim Jedi, makes it up to 5. His draw, a second Periwinkle. Eaglov will draw because of Windsinger, Master of the Hunt finds a Wild Shard. We see a counter adding on, another counter. Jadim Jedi putting each one of these individually. And now Soul Marble, it will be online. And he's going to turn it into Soul Cavalry.
This is a really interesting choice, opting not to go for Soul Armaments, which is actually a protection against Mass Polymorph Dingler.
10 damage. This brings Eaglov down to 7 health. His draw is a counter magic.
Oh, he needs more blockers, and he needs them now. But if Eaglov plays a second troop, he does open himself up to Crocosaur. Very rough.
Carnosaurus.
Trying to decide whether it is worth battling for the extra health.
Both players wanting to make this win happen. Go to the finals. Draw is an Eternal Sage for Jadim Jedi.
Now, Eaglov does have all of his resources open. Jadim Jedi has to know that an interrupt is possible.
Attack from Jadim Jedi. Angel of Dawn, Soul Cavalry inbound. We see the Carnosaurus blocking the Soul Cavalry. 4 damage. We have Eaglov down to 3 health.
This is insane.
Crocosaur being played by Jadim Jedi. His hand is full of troops.
I can't help but think he's trying to bait out a counter magic.
And no counter magic from Eaglov.
Because if Eaglov had interrupted that, Jadeem Jedi would have been able to bring it back with his charge power once he gets to 7.
And here we see Mass Polymorph Dingler, and that's going to take all of Jadeem Jedi's troops and turn them into Dinglers, including in his hand. And to lose 2 Periwinkles, 2 Balthazars, and Eternal Sage has got to be rough for Jadeem Jedi.
That's right. Now he's relying solely on his top decks. He has no gas at all.
With nothing but a handful of Dinglers and a board full of Dinglers for Jadeem Jedi.
Oh, important note. It reverts it to its base form. So Jadeem Jedi gets a Soul Marble. It doesn't become a Dingler.
It does not become a Dingler. So we see Mass Polymorph Dingler, and another card here for Eagleoff will be put back into his deck, and they will get when you play this draw card.
That could be really huge.
Draw for Jadeem Jedi is an Arborean Rootfather. Now remember, his Arborean Rootfathers are gemmed a little differently. This one looks like to be speed and direct damage. You got to be worried about the counter magic, though, from Eagleoff. Eagleoff's draw is an Arcane Focus.
You want to hit as hard as possible. If Jadeem Jedi manages to put out that Arborean Rootfather, it will be GG for Eagleoff.
Arcane Focus finds a Carnosaurus and a Chlorophylla.
Should also point out that Eagleoff cannot attack in too greedily. If he doesn't keep one blocker back at all times, Soul Marble could also end him.
Arcane Focus and Carnosaurus put back in the deck with Winter Moon's champion ability. We see Carnosaurus battle the Dingler. He's going to gain some health, go up to 5.
And every little bit of health is precious at this point.
Going to attack from Eagleoff, 4 damage, inbounded to Jadeem Jedi. Jadeem Jedi down to 19 health. Windsinger, Master of the Hunt, your resource replenishes at the start of each opposing champion's turn. That's great for this Winter Moon deck.
Interesting to see Eagleoff pushing his advantage, tossing down that Buccaneer. I think he's trying to go for the aggro win as fast as possible.
Soul Marble being put 5 counters on Soul Marble. Draw for Jadeem Jedi is a Wild Shard. Eagleoff finds a Sapphire Shard with his draw. And now we see Soul Marble online with 6 counters. 7 counters. Being very careful, 8 counters. 9 counters. And a Soul Cavalry for Jadeem Jedi again.
As a reminder, that is a 6/6 Steadfast with Spell Shield. Eagleoff is going to have to keep throwing blockers in front of it.
Buccaneer will step in front of the Soul Cavalry. Draw for Eagleoff is an Arborean Rootfather.
Now this is game-changing. 8/8 Spell Shield and flying.
Arborean Rootfather, the play for Eagleoff, along with a Crocosaur. Eagleoff deciding not to use his Winter Moon ability. He'll end his turn.
This will allow Eagleoff to be aggressive finally, start swinging in with that Rootfather.
Eagleoff finds a second counter magic. Chlorophylla for Jadeem Jedi.
This is critical. Even if that Arborean Rootfather is interrupted, Jadeem Jedi now has the charges to bring it back with his champion power.
Oracle Song is the draw for Eagleoff. Plays that Oracle Song, fights a Shard of Instinct and Sapper's Charge.
Can't help but feel that Jadeem Jedi just needs to toss down the Arborean Rootfather, get that Ruby, which he is so critically missing.
We see the 8/8 Arborean Rootfather from Eagleoff inbound. This takes Jadeem Jedi to 11 health. Looks to put Buccaneer and Oracle Song back into his deck with his Winter Moon champion ability. Sapper's Charge now online.
Means we are one turn away from a potential victory. Jadeem Jedi, the top deck. Will it be a Ruby? Will it save him?
Draw for Jadeem Jedi is a Chlorophylla. Carnosaurus for Eagleoff.
That is not going to be enough.
Arborean Rootfather attempted to be played by Jadeem Jedi and counter magic from Eagleoff.
Showing the interaction, saying you can counter this all you want, but I will bring it back.
Rutherford Banks' ability brings the Arborean Rootfather back to the field. Over to Eaglov. His draw is a Buccaneer.
I think that presents lethal if he returns a blocker.
Buccaneer into another Buccaneer. Unfortunately for him, that Soul Cavalry does have Spell Shield. And here we go. Everything inbound. Windsinger, Master of the Hunt, but that's going to do it. So we have Eaglov tying this up 1-1 against Jadim Jedi.
Every time, the caliber of these players is phenomenal. You're down a game, but they do not go on tilt. They hold themselves to the highest standard of play, and they eke out a victory.
Remember, these are the top 4 players in Hex right now. Eaglov, Jadim Jedi being part of that 4. These players are going to do everything they can to make that final spot. We see players going for reserves. It looks like Eaglov is happy with where his deck is right now. And, you know, he may reserve something in or out. It looks like actually he is. Looks like he's going to be bringing in a Cripple.
And Cripple is actually strong against this kind of matchup because even if an opponent is bringing something back from the crypt, if it has been modified, it's going to keep that modification. So that -4 attack means on an Arborean Rootfather, 4 less damage.
Let's go to game number 3. The winner of this is going to go into the finals to play for $40,000. This match is going to be epic. Let's take a look at opening hands for both players. Looks like a mulligan on both sides. Jadim Jedi plays a Wild Shard, has Balthazar, Jadim, and an Arborean Rootfather in hand. Sapphire Shard for Eaglov. And we see an Arcane Focus turn 1 reveals Carnosaurus and Oracle Song.
A strong start, but flipped for Eaglov. All the Sapphire, no Wild.
Wild Shard being played by Jadim Jedi. We see Puck the Dreambringer on turn 2 over to Eaglov, Arborean Rootfather. Is a draw.
This is actually really terrifying for Eaglov. If you cannot get rid of Puck right away, you're going to feel the pain.
Puck the Dreambringer brings him up to 5 temporary resources. Puck is a 2-cost, 2/2 troop. You can exhaust to gain 1 temporary resource for each troop in your hand with cost 5 or greater. We see Eaglov activating Arborean Rootfather, finds a peak.
And this is why you put Jadim in the deck. If he doesn't get rid of this soon, Eaglov is not long for those worlds.
Sapphire Shard for Buccaneer, and Jadim is going to go back into Jadim Jedi's hand and cost +1. Activation of Puck brings him up to 6 resources. Again, we see Shard of Savagery.
Feel a little bit like we're playing ping pong.
A Ruby Threshold for Jadim Jedi. Plays Jadim again. Back over to Eaglov, and we see a Buccaneer off the top.
That's perfect. That's perfect. Of course, you do need to get rid of Jadim. If you do not, the next major play is going to hurt you incredibly. Jadim gets +X for a card that you play, whether that's a troop, whether that is an action. And with 6 drops and 7 drops in Jadim Jedi's hand, that is upwards of 12 damage all at once.
Eaglov making the decision possibly of his tournament career.
Does he want to prevent damage or keep resources open for counter magic? Of course, the best play for Eaglov is to toss down a Crocosaur, but to do that, he needs to wait at least 3 turns. He needs 3 Wild Threshold.
Without the Wild Threshold, Crocosaur is not even in the discussion yet. Eaglov trying to decide how he wants to do this. And it looks like he's going to wait for counter magic. Goes over to Jadim Jedi. His draw is a Diamond Shard. Activation of Puck brings him up to 6 resources. Diamond Shard up to 7.
Are we going to see the Root Father? I think we might.
Jadim Jedi looks like he's going to play that Arborean Rootfather. It is. So the counter magic on the Arborean Rootfather, but that Jadim is a 12-12.
And that just goes to show you that including the dragon is not just for show. It also gets around counter magics and interrupts.
Eaglov down to 9 health, finds a counter magic off the top. We see Buccaneer targeting Jadim again. Jadim going back into Jadim Jedi's hand and cost +7. Puck the Dreambringer goes up to 8 resources, so he has enough for Jadim again. So we see the same play from Jadim Jedi.
And we're getting one step closer to the Rutherford Fangs ability with an Arborian Rootfather in the crypt.
Draw for Eagleoff is Chlorophilia. Will use a peek, finds Arcane Focus, Time Ripple, and Winsinger, Master of the Hunt, selects Time Ripple.
Eagleoff is in a dangerous position. Wintermoon decks rely on resource advantage as well as card advantage, and right now Eagleoff is down 3 resources.
All Jadim Jedi has to do is play a troop, and this is going to affect Jadim. It goes to a 14-14, and that's going to do it. Jadim Jedi is going to make it into the finals of the Hex $100,000 Invitational, and he's got to be happy about that.
Oh, indeed. What an amazing match going down to the very end. The Wintermoon Killer living up to its name and taking the field.
Jadim Jedi, an epic journey from day one, went down to the point where he had to fight his own team member to make it to day number 2, and is now going to be in the finals of the first ever Hex Invitational.
That's right. And you know, it's got to feel good. Winning, of course, must feel good, but winning with style, winning with your namesake to bring yourself into the finals, that's just a little extra treat.
All right, so we're going to go down to Alucard with his winner, Jadim Jedi, the first person to make it to the finals of the Hex Invitational.
I'm here now with Jadim Jedi, winner of that semifinals match, moving on to the finals of the Hex Invitational. Congratulations.
Thank you, Alucard. It was a great redemption moment, and especially a good moment for Jadim, who doesn't get a whole lot of love there. So felt really good to go and win it like that.
Yeah, we actually got to see that awesome tech that you put into that Wild Diamond. Tell me the significance of Jadim and what it means to you.
Sure. So we needed to have something that was a bigger clock in, and Jadim just hits really hard. When you're playing against all the interrupts, the counter magics, sometimes if you just have the Jadim out there, it doesn't matter if they even counter it, which he did. He was able to counter some of the things that I had anyway, but it still hits so hard. And it's something that can dodge Krakasar. If you have just the one troop by itself, Jadim can be a huge threat all on its own. So big win for me. And of course the Rootfather tech there was pretty sweet too. Having the direct damage in the main, and also being able to go and have it for the reserves there with speed was pretty good.
Awesome. So you have secured at least $20,000, and you will be playing for $40,000 in the final round of the tournament, the finals. So who do you want to play against? We've got Koma and Vazriel over here.
I mean, I want to play against my teammate. I want it to be an all Dragonborn final.
Awesome. So good luck. We hope you can have that happen for you, and we'll see you in the finals.
Thank you.
So congratulations to Jadim Jedi, the first finalist in the Hex Invitational. Congratulations to him. Big boon for him and the Dragonborn Guild. Again, securing $20,000. I mean, that's no small feat. In a weekend, coming back 1-3, and is now a minimum $20,000 richer.
Yeah, no small feat and no small chunk of change. And from a near loss in the very beginning, that's got to feel great.
Especially piloting the deck that he created. He created that Rutherford Banks deck, and he's using it to take him to victory.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go down to Alucard with Eagleoff.
All right, I'm here now with Eaglov. It was a very hard-fought battle. He definitely put a lot of pressure on you, but it was a really, really tense match. We know you got a bit resource screwed, and there was not much you could do about it in Game 3, but you're going to have a chance to play for $13,000 against one of these two competitors. So who do you want to play against here?
Oh, you know, they both are strong players, and I think I can play with any one of them. Vazrael is pretty better because I like to play with him. We have a lot of games between us, and we know us good, and maybe we can do a good show for you.
That's right. You have a long-standing rivalry with Vazrael. So what are you hoping to see against him?
Of course, my Crocosaurs and Support Chargers. A lot. Because his troops are pretty weak. I can beat him.
And then if you end up playing against Coma, it'll be a mirror match, so you'll be playing against another Wintermoon deck. How do you feel about that?
I hope for my Brown Foxes. Very hope for them because that instant speed 3 attack, they make beat fast and they play during his turn and he can counter magic it because of my other actions.
So you're going to walk away with at least $9,000, which is an amazing showing. One of the top 4 players in Hex. Congratulations. We're looking forward to the playoff for third. And good luck.
Thank you very much.
All right, Alucard, thanks for that interview with Igolov. Again, all of these players have proven that they're champions. And again, still not over, fighting for $9,000 or $13,000. So again, Igolov trying to just get that much EV out of the tournament.
That's right. I mean, you made it here. You might as well maximize your time.
So let's take a look at the updated tournament bracket for everyone. Again, Jadeem Jedi making it into the finals by defeating Igolov. And our next match is going to be Vazriel versus Coma, Azure Fate versus Wintermoon. What do you like about this matchup?
You know, I've got to say, I like Azure Cannon, which has been a deck that, briefly made a splash in the IQ scene. Bunch of people running it, but it was a difficult deck to run, and it fell out of popularity. I want to see a master pilot use that deck against one of the opponents it was designed to beat, Wintermoon. I mean, everybody has been building in one way or another around Wintermoon.
Vazriel, again, the experience with this deck has been extensive. He's played this deck a lot, and he is looking to do that. And again, you talked about the explosiveness of the Azure Cannon deck. I mean, I think you mentioned one turn, it can do up to 60 damage if done correctly.
That's right. Especially with Jags, the Blade Master. That's a tech that you don't always see in an Azure Cannon deck. Many variants out there.
All right, let's head on down to the tournament floor for Coma versus Vazriel. The winner of this will face Jadeem Jedi in the finals. Once we get ready to go, we'll take a look at opening hands for both players. The winner of this will face Jadeem Jedi in the finals for $40,000. And you got to think that Vazriel wants to go and make it and be against Jadeem Jedi and go for that, go for the mentor, take out his mentor.
Oh, you heard Jadeem Jedi in the interview. That's what he is hoping for too. We'll see if that comes to be. Coma, remember, not many matches against other members of this tournament. He's been a little bit of a wild card. Perhaps that surprise factor will serve him well today.
Opening hand for both players, Vazriel with 2 a Counter Magic Time Ripple, 2 Crackling Bolt, Arcane Focus. Looks like he's going to mulligan down to a Ruby Shard, double Sapphire Shard, Counter Magic, Crackling Bolt, and Azure Fate Sorceress. For Coma, a Sapphire Shard ×2, double Wild Shard, Crocosar, Reese the Crustcrawler, and Azure Fate Sorceress. Sapphire Shard for Vazriel will play a Ruby Shard, and that'll end his turn.
Whenever you start with a Reese the Crustcrawler in your hand, you've got to be feeling pretty good. An excellent beginning for Coma.
Azure Fate Sorceress, the draw for Coma. Plays a resource, tunnels Reese the Crustcrawler.
Reese the Crustcrawler is a pretty devastating troop. You tunnel it, and then when it surfaces 4 turns later, it will create a bunch of card advantage.
Draw for Vazriel is a Reese the Crustcrawler of his own, and he will tunnel it.
Well, looks like pretty similar starts for both players.
Draw for Coma is an Arborean Rootfather.
I think it's really interesting, Coma playing that Sapphire, very intentional, saying, I might have a counter magic. Be careful what you do.
Arcane Focus for Vazriel. Look at the top 2 cards. We find a Subterranean Spy and a Ruby Shard. We'll play that Sapphire Shard. If he does tunnel the Spy, he will be able to look at Coma's hand.
That's right, getting all of that secret information.
Arborean Rootfather will be put back into Coma's deck, finds a Wild Shard, and Vazriel will see his opponent's hand.
But it might be a little bit too late. The Azure Fate Sorceress can come down.
Azure Fate Sorceress online for Coma. We go back over to Vazriel. His draw, Ruby Shard.
And that means that any troop that sticks, any troop that comes down and is not interrupted will be there to stay. Spell Shield is the gem inside Azure Fate Sorceress.
We've seen these players literally go back and forth. A Reese for Koma, a Reese for Vazriel. Azure Fate Sorceress for Koma, and Azure Fate Sorceress for Vazriel. That direct damage will bring Koma down to 19 health.
A very strong play.
Draw for Koma, a Wild Shard.
I think that also means that the next couple of turns are going to be very explosive for Vazriel.
We see the Azure Fate Sorceress for Koma. Swing in to Vazriel.
I really think Vazriel needs to keep open counter magic. If he does not, he's going to be in a world of pain next turn.
Damage to Vazriel, takes him down to 20 health, draws a card for Koma, and it's counter magic. We see the spy surface for Vazriel, and now Koma knows he's been able to look at his hand. 3 more damage. This will take Koma down to 16. Jags the Blade Master, the draw for Vazriel.
Now, if Vazriel is going to win, he needs to do it soon. Counter magic could take care, well, we'll have to take care of Krakasaur, but that counter magic can, in turn, be counter magic. Again, counter magic inception. It's going to be very tense.
Vazriel, Sapphire Shard, counter magic, Crackling Bolt, Jags the Blade Master.
That's right. Best of all, Vazriel knows there's a counter magic coming, so he needs to plan out his next couple of moves very carefully.
We have Reese also tunneled on both sides for both players.
And a Crackling Bolt. Remember, Vazriel's champion power, Tetzat, son of Omok, can be activated with 6 charges. Crackling Bolt deals 3 damage, but also gains a charge.
Vazriel going to attack.
We may see some Jags the Blade Master Crackling Bolt action to try and force lethal onto Koma with a lucky draw.
Remember, each of these players are fighting for a chance to go into the finals. Vazriel is calculating every single move possible.
I think on average, if the Subterranean Spy connects, Vazriel will need a 5-5 to win.
Vazriel deciding if he wants to swing in with that spy. He does, so 3 damage inbound to Koma.
I guess we'll find out if Koma is feeling lucky.
Jags the Blade Master is a 3-cost 3/2 troop with Inspire. As another troop with a cost equal to or greater than Jags the Blade Master cost enters play under your control. That troop gets this, deals double damage.
You can see Vazriel over there hoping and praying. Will the 3 damage go through? I think that's his best chance for victory.
Koma deciding if he wants to take the damage, and he does. He goes to 13 health.
It does. It goes through.
We see Reese the Crustcrawler surface for Koma.
Now that does have Spell Shield, which means Vazriel has no way of removing.
Draw for Koma is a Sapphire Shard. Plays that Sapphire Shard.
If Koma plays the Krakasaur, he will not have enough resources for counter magic.
Tough call for Koma. Does he play the Krakasaur to remove the Azure Fate Sorceress and the Subterranean Spy? Or does he save the counter magic?
Next turn, I think, is going to decide this entire match.
Koma trying to decide if he wants to swing.
He's got a pretty strong board, and Vazriel cannot afford to block.
So Koma theoretically could get 8 damage in on Vazriel if Vazriel decides not to block with the Azure Fate Sorceress and a full swing from Koma.
And that would equalize their health totals.
We see just a single Azure Fate Sorceress and Reese the Crustcrawler inbound, 6 damage. This is going to take Vazriel down to 14, only 1 health separating these players. Cards being drawn, among them, another counter magic and a peak.
That was huge, drawing a second counter magic.
And a Warhulk is created due to Reese the Crustcrawler for Koma.
That's insane.
We see counter magic for Koma. We see a counter magic from Vazriel. We're going to see another counter magic from Koma. I'm going to counter your counter with my counter, and the Reese will go to the crypt.
That was pretty bonkers. But a resource from Vazriel means Jags the Blade Master is a possibility.
Jags, the Blade Master online. We're going to see Tetsot's ability be activated. How many is it going to create? A 3-3. 6 damage will take Coma down to 7 health.
It's not quite enough.
It is not enough.
On the plus side, he now has a blocker that prevents Reese from swinging in.
Draw for Coma is a time ripple. We see Crocosaur come down, and it's going to nom, nom, nom.
Azure Fate Sorceress was Vazriel's main win con at this point.
And Azure Fate Sorceress and Jax the Blade Master will go to the crypt for Vazriel because of Crocosaur.
This is a tough spot for Vazriel to be in. He needs a bit more direct damage. Another Azure Fate, more crackling bolts. He needs to survive long enough to get a chance to play all of them.
Coma has 13 live damage inbound. Time Ripple peak in hand. Only 2 resources remaining.
And 13 is not enough to finish Vazriel off, at least not yet.
Life totals doubled. Vazriel 14, Coma at 7. We see the Warhulk inbound, courtesy of Reese the Crustcrawler. 5 damage. This is going to take Vazriel down to 9 health. Draws a card, draws 2 cards, and they're both Azure Fate Sorceress.
I think we see Azure Fate Sorceress doing just an amazing amount of work in this particular pairing, getting all that card draw and all of that protection for every single troop Coma plays.
Activation of Winter Moon will put both counter magics back into Coma's deck. Draw for Vazriel is a Sapphire Shard.
Not quite enough. I think at this point, Coma might have it in the bag. Very large board, nothing Vazriel can touch, and it's just going to keep getting bigger. That Reese.
We see a peek from Coma. This will be for 4 cards. He'll be able to select one of those and put it into his hand.
Peak is, I think, a main technical card for Sapphire decks, particularly Winter Moon decks. It allows you to search for your major threats, your major interrupts and counters. So very important.
We go over to Coma. His draw is a Chlorophylla.
And Peak is particularly good because it improves over time with every Sapphire threshold that you play.
If you look at the number of troops that Coma has versus Vazriel, even if we were to block the 2 biggest troop, that's still 9 damage. That's enough to kill Vazriel.
That is. He has lethal on board. The question is, will he push his advantage and cinch it this turn?
Coma playing calculated. Of course, with 2 cards in hand and 6 open resources, Coma's playing it cool, drops a resource.
Does also have that time ripple. You can see him eyeing it over and over again. That will remove one of those blockers.
We see him activate Winter Moon's ability, Chlorophylla. Goes back in the deck. We'll be able to draw a card when he plays it.
And if Coma miscalculates and ripples the Rock Elemental, Vazriel can somehow play it again. That could be GG.
Both these players trying to find a win to make it in the finals against Jadim Jedi. You see Coma looking at that time ripple.
I mean, at some point, because his board is so massive, you really just need to remove a troop. What Coma's afraid of is that there's a counter magic or some kind of response that will hurt him for swinging in with everything.
Coma is going to time ripple, targets a Subterranean Spy, goes back into Vazriel's hand. And we're likely to see a full swing. And we do. Full swing from Coma against Vazriel. And nothing he's going to be able to do. And Coma will take game number 1 against Vazriel in this semifinals match.
What a tense finish. Just goes to show you the power of that Azure Fate Sorceress. I love how these Winter Moon decks are so very different, using Sapphire and Wild, but different sides of the equation.
Exciting time right now for both players. Really, for Coma, wanting to get that other win and go into the finals against Jadim Jedi. Vazriel wants to find a win to force a game number 3. Both these players playing for a chance at $40,000. Calculated reserves for both players being done.
It'd be really interesting to see these reserve decisions. Remember, there is Heatwave. Heatwave is a possibility, and while Heatwave is usually designed for aggro decks, it does neatly get around spell-shielded Azurfate. We may see some of those coming in.
We do see a Heat Wave. Looks like to be for Vazriel. He's considering it. Takes out a Mentalist. Back. He had Jags back out, now back into his deck.
The problem with Heatwave is that it does also hit most of his troops. Jags the Blade Master, his very own Azurfates, his Spiritbound Spies, everything in the deck will also be killed by a Heatwave. So you have to be very careful when you play it.
A pivotal match for both players as we get down to the final seconds of reserves. Coma looking to secure his victory and go into the finals. Vazriel looking to force a game 3. And we're going to go down to the tournament floor for game number 2 for Coma versus Vazriel. And Vazriel will be able to go first. We'll take a look at opening hands for both players. For Vazriel, looking at a Ruby Shard, triple Sapphire Shard, Heat Wave, which we talked about earlier, Subterranean Spy, and Azurfate Sorceress. For Coma, looking at a Sapphire Shard, Shard of Instinct, Wild Shard, Counter Magic, Arborean Rootfather, Azurfate Sorceress, and a Succulent Cluckadon.
Those Succulent Cluckadons are excellent tech against an Azure Cannon. Azure Cannon wants to explode and deal lethal damage before an opponent can respond. You have a lot more time to respond when you're full of health.
Vazriel deciding if he wants to keep his opening hand.
It's not bad, although perhaps more shards than he's looking for. You need to have a bunch of gas right up front, much like many aggro decks.
This seems to be a very hard decision for Vazriel to make. Does he want to keep it? He does indeed. And we will get this match underway. Coma again, 1-0 over Vazriel. Vazriel playing a Ruby Shard. That'll end his turn.
Coma does have a counter magic, so 1 interrupt already found. It's a good start.
Shard of Instinct for Coma. Chooses Wild Threshold. That'll end his turn. We'll go over to Vazriel. His draw, Time Ripple. Plays a Sapphire Shard.
And again, we might see Subterranean Spy. An excellent way to start out. You know exactly what is coming and can plan ahead accordingly.
Decides to tunnel the Subterranean Spy. The Subterranean Spy is a 5-cost 3/2. But with Tunnel 2, you tunnel Subterranean Spy. While this is underground, you can see the cards of each opposing champion's hand.
It looks like Coma might have a tunneler of his own.
Reese the Crust Crawler looking to go tunneling from Coma, and it does. So Reese the Crust Crawler now tunneled for Coma. We saw that play a pivotal role in game number 1, producing that Warhulk.
Yeah. Reese is devastating if you can't get it off the board quickly.
Ruby Shard for Vazriel drawn, plays a Sapphire Shard. 1 counter on Subterranean Spy, so next turn the Spy will surface. Over to Coma, draws an Arcane Focus, plays a Sapphire Shard.
The real trick for Vazriel is getting Coma to overextend, to play the Azurfate Sorceress and allow the Heat Wave to come down. But as long as Vazriel is presenting 3 open resources, that's saying I might have a counter.
Subterranean Spy will surface for Vazriel. You can see Vazriel taking notes, doing everything he can to make sure he has full knowledge of what's going on in Coma's hand. We go to attack. Subterranean Spy inbound, 3 damage. This will bring Coma down to 18 health. Ruby Shard for Vazriel.
You don't want to forget anything when there's this much on the line.
Especially with that counter magic in hand for Coma.
Now, Coma has a number of clever options as well. Arcane Focus can improve the overall quality of his deck. He can start putting in Arborean Rootfather, put that back into his deck and start drawing cards. Every time he does that, it makes the Arborean Rootfather cheaper and easier to play. 7 cost, that's a far stretch from his current 3 resources. 5 cost, that's a lot more manageable, especially with a Wild Shard in hand.
Looks to activate Arborean Rootfather. And in response to that, Azure Fate Sorceress, so this is going to be 2 damage directly to Koma. This brings him down to 16 health. The card from Arborean Rootfather is a Sapphire Shard.
No. Vazriel does get the Azure Fate Sorceress on the field, but the response, Koma has a free turn to play his very own Azure Fate Sorceress.
Sapper's Charge, the draw for Koma, plays a Wild Shard, is at 4 resources.
Oh, this is interesting. Will Koma use the Sapper's Charge right away? Or will he play Azure Fate Sorceress?
So Sapper's Charge for Koma.
It is unfortunate for Vazriel, one of his main combo pieces. On the plus side, it does open up Heat Wave so that you're not destroying your own troops.
Koma is going to activate Sapper's Charge. That's going to send Azure Fate Sorceress to the Crypt. Activation of Winter Moon will put both cards in Koma's Crypt into his deck. Arcane Focus. We'll look at the top 2 cards of his deck. He'll be able to put one of those into his hand.
Cyber's Charge is such a strong card. It was originally put in because of Cressida Ramp and making sure you got rid of Periwinkles, but it does an equally strong job against Azure Fate Sorceress and Azure Cannon.
Tough decision for Koma as he's trying to find the card he wants to select.
You can see him playing Eeny, Meeny, Miny, Mo.
And it's a Carnosaurus for Koma off that Arcane Focus.
Another way to remove Vazriel's troops.
Vazriel's draw is a Sapphire Shard.
You have to remember, most troops in Vazriel's deck have 2 defense, no more.
Subterranean Spy, going to hit Koma for 3, takes him to 13 health, Sapphire Shard. And Crackling Bolt to Koma directly. This will take him to 10. Activation of the charge power from Tetzot. It's a 4/4 Rock Elemental.
All right, Vazriel is building up his presence. He needs to swing as fast as possible, take advantage of the current lack of blockers on Koma's side.
The draw for Koma is a Crocosaur. Unfortunately, no triple Wild Threshold for that.
So Vazriel has dodged a bullet. Will not lose his entire board.
Crocosaur is a 5-cost triple Wild Threshold 5/6 troop. When it enters play, you may have it battle 2 target opposing troops, but it has to be 2 troops.
It does. You cannot target a single troop.
You can see Koma shaking his head. He's got to find what he's going to do against Vazriel. He does have a 1-game lead. He wants to close this out. If you give Vazriel an inch, he will take a mile.
And there are multiple lines. You could toss down the Azure Fate, take a little bit of damage, and just hope for the best. There isn't direct damage in Vazriel's hand. You could be a little bit more defensive, toss down your dinosaurs and gain health that way. Many, many different directions this could go.
Carnosaurus is the play for Koma. It's going to target that Subterranean Spy.
I like it. I like the line. It removes an attacker, it keeps counter magic open, and it puts you at 12, which will prevent 3 more turns of Rock Elemental damage.
Vazriel trying to decide if he wants to Time Ripple in response.
That would be an interesting line. Time Rippling the Carnosaur will force counter magic or Carnosaurus, a difficult choice. Especially given that a top deck Crackling Bolt could be the end.
Looks like Time Ripple might be the option. Vazriel decides not to. Will lose the Subterranean Spy due to Carnosaurus.
And he does keep that counter magic up, so interrupts are possible.
Remember, Koma has a Tunneled Reese with 3 counters on it so far.
And once that surfaces, he's going to have great advantage on the board.
Arcane Focus and Carnosaurus back into Koma's deck. We go to Vazriel. His draw is a Ruby Shard.
Not quite what he was looking for. He needs some more gas, more troops, more damage.
4 damage to Koma from the Rock Elemental brings him to 8 health.
It's also important to note that Koma never got that Azure Fate Sorceress out.
And Reese the Crust Crawler will surface for Koma. draw is a peak.
That Reese can be targeted by Time Ripple. It does not have Spell Shield.
Koma studying the board, looking at his hand. His opponent has 3 cards in hand, 6 open resources.
This is tough because Koma, if he plays anything, except maybe that peak, he's not going to be able to keep the counter magic up. So do you build up your board, make yourself a little bit healthier, or do you really protect what you already have and have that counter magic at the ready?
Koma at 8 health, Vazriel at 22. This decision could mean the difference between winning and losing. Decides not to play something during the first main phase or going into combat phase.
There's an argument for swinging in. You'll have a blocker regardless. Reese the Crustcrawler generates a random robot.
And it looks like Time Ripple from Vazriel. We'll see if Koma responds with a counter magic.
Seems likely. You do need to build up blockers.
Counter magic will interrupt the Time Ripple, and Reese the Crushcrawler makes a mechanized demolisher.
Seems like a pretty good robot, huh?
Not a bad robot at all. Vazriel only has a Ruby Shard, Sapphire Shard, and Heatwave in hand. Rock Elemental on the board.
Mechanized Demolisher. We saw several of those wheeling during the draft, but it's still a very large body, 6'4".
And it also creates 2 demolitions and puts them into your hand. Vazriel will try to end his turn. Before that, a peak for 3 by Koma.
And demolitions are nice, less so when you don't have Ruby Threshold.
Carnosaurus is the card selected. Koma's draw is a counter magic.
Looks like he can do the same thing all over again.
We're going through the first main phase to combat.
Perhaps we'll see some aggression from Koma. He now has blockers and can start to swing in with that 6'4". It is expendable.
Does Koma swing in with the Mechanized Demolisher, put pressure on Vazriel? He does. It's coming in, 6 damage. Vazriel decides to take it, goes to 16 health.
He really has very little choice. His only threat is that Rock Elemental. He has to protect it.
Succulent Cluckodon for Koma. Goes up to 22 health. And a Charge Hulk for Koma. Draw for Vazriel is Jags the Blade Master.
And board is looking scarier and scarier. Reese needs to die.
Charge Hulk is a 4-cost 3/2 artifact troop robot. When this enters play, gain 2 charges. Vazriel plays Jags the Blade Master.
I think that makes sense. You need to have as many blockers. Otherwise, you're going to be overrun. This is a very scary board.
We go back over to Koma. His draw is an Arborean Rootfather.
Still no third Wild Threshold. Crocosaur is being locked out.
Carnosaurus for Koma. It's going to target that Jags the Blade Master. He will go to the crypt with the Carnosaurus, gaining health. Goes up to 14. Sapphire Shard for Koma.
Swift and Bitey Carnosaurus doing amazing work in this matchup. Now at this point, Koma is back at a respectable 14 health. He can start to put pressure on the board, swinging in with the Mechanized Demolisher or the Succulent Cluckodon. Possibilities.
Carnosaurus in peak will go back into Koma's deck with Mineral Moon's ability. We see an attack. We see the Mechanized Demolisher and the Succulent Cluckodon inbound. This is 10 damage. And a Rock Elemental will step in front of the Mechanized Demolisher. 4 damage will bring Vazriel down to 12 health.
Yeah, it looks like that was just too much to handle.
A Mecha T-Hex for Koma as a result of Reese. We see a Heat Wave from Vazriel.
Now, when you have to, you have to. Only taking care of 1 troop, however.
Not going to be enough. Mechanized Demolisher is going to force the Mecha T-Hex from blocking. Go into combat phase. End of turn for Vazriel. And we're going to go back over to Koma. Draws another Crocosaur, so still unable to find that third wild threshold.
Now again, we saw a moment where Koma might have countered the Mesmeric Hypnoscientist to keep up his advantage, but he didn't feel the need. He's got a pretty strong position. Vazriel is forcing to toss things in front of his troops again and again. Might as well wait it out.
Suckling Cluckadog, Mecha T-Hex inbound. Mesmeric Hypnoscientist will block with the Mecha T-Hex. 4 damage. This brings Vazriel down to 4. And an Infiltrator bot for Koma. The draw for Vazriel is a Mesmeric Hypnoscientist.
Infiltrator bot is a pretty good pickup.
And counter magic from Koma, and that is going to do it. Both players saying good game. Koma with that Reese doing damage, and is going to go 2-0 and make it into the finals against Jadim Jedi, where they will be playing for $40,000.
Wow. What a great match.
So there we have it. Koma is going to be going into the finals versus Jadim Jedi. Eaglov and Vazriel will be playing it off. Again, coincidentally, those two players who have met each other many times before for 3rd and 4th place. So our final match is going to be Koma and Jadim Jedi playing for $40,000. But let's head on down to Alucard with our winner of the last match, Koma.
And here I am with Koma, our second finalist of the Hex Invitational. Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
That was an excellent matchup against Vazriel there. You were playing really, really well with your Winter Moon deck, and you're going to be ending up facing against Jadim Jedi with his Wild Diamond deck. How are you feeling about that?
I think it's a 50-50. I mean, it's anybody's game. As far as that last match I just played with Vazriel, I just want to say Havoc, Reese is the right call. Get Side of the Sun out of there. But I played a little sloppy at the end, but I could afford to. I had a counter magic, so that's all I got to say.
Well, Reese certainly was a big asset to you in both of those games. He really put in some work. What do you think about Reese in the deck?
Oh, Reese is the all-star. Yeah, sometimes I actually wish I'd had 3, but that second game, I was so glad to hit him on turn 2. It just, I don't know, it just made my day, so.
Well, you're about to be playing for $40,000. You've already secured $20,000 for yourself. So, what are you feeling?
Feeling pretty good. I was happy just to make day 2, and then I told myself, hey, I'll be happy to make top 4. And so making the finals is it's unbelievable.
And you did make the top 4, and you've made the finals, and you will be playing against Jadim Jedi here in just a little bit. Good luck, and congratulations.
All right, thank you, Alucard, with the winner of our last match, Koma, who's going to be going in the finals against Jadim Jedi, playing for $40,000. Both players going to be walking away with a minimum of $20,000.
It's got to be a dream come true.
So we're going to go down to Alucard with the with Vazriel of that matchup between him and Koma.
All right, I'm here now with Vazriel. That was a rough match, but you definitely put a lot of pressure on Koma there. You got him really low on health, and it was good to see that.
Yeah, it was really, I mean, it felt kind of close, but I think it was not as close as I would have needed it to be, because I got not the best draws in both games. I had to mulligan game 1, considered mulligan in game 2, and he just got the answers in time, so I lost.
But you will get a chance to play off for 3rd place for $13,000 against your rival Eaglov in our 3rd place match. So how are you feeling about that one?
Oh, I'm feeling pretty good. So the last time we played, he won on day 1, so I guess I just try to win, and I feel good about the matchup. But yeah, would have been more fun to play for the 40,000, but it's going to be a good game.
Well, good luck to you, and we hope you do the best in the 3rd place match.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Alucard, for that interview with Vazriel. Again, great players. Final four, now down to the final two, the two best Hex players in our community, vying at it for $40,000. We do have the updated tournament bracket, so we can bring that to you just to show you the progression of the final four. Jadeem Jedi, again, taking that victory over Eaglov, and Coma taking the victory over Vazriel. Our finals match will be Jadeem Jedi versus Coma. Our third and fourth place match will be Eaglov versus Vazriel. Again, these players have a really, really huge tournament history with each other, Eaglov and Vazriel.
That's right. And this match, this third and fourth place match, does matter. It's the difference between $9,000 and $13,000. So they are going to bring their A game.
So again, Eaglov and Vazriel are going to be playing for $13,000. The loser of that match will still walk away with $9,000. So $4,000 on the line for both those players. I'm sure it's going to be an epic match between those two.
Agreed.
So we're going to go down to Alucard with our two finalists, Jadeem Jedi and Coma.
All right, I'm here now with Jadeem Jedi and Coma, our Hex Invitational finalists, both from the USA. Jadeem Jedi, you were first seeded in this entire tournament today. How are you feeling about this match?
I'm happy to make it into the finals. I mean, I do wish that it would have been a team finals, but you know, it's still all American, so that works out for me too.
And Coma, how are you feeling?
I feel pretty good. That last match, I was an underdog, so I got lucky and won. So.
Yeah, and we haven't actually seen you guys play too much in the past. So, are you ready for any surprises that may await you, Jadeem?
I think we'll both have to have a few surprises for each other. It should be a fun match either way, that's for sure.
And we did see you play against some of the Wild Diamond decks earlier. So how are you feeling about his Wild Diamond deck?
I'm feeling fine. Like I said, it's a coin flip. It's 50-50. The funny thing is that the other three guys in this top four were the three guys I beat yesterday. So, I feel my matchup's pretty good.
All right, so good luck to both of you. This is going to be an epic finals, both U.S. competitors. Congratulations and good luck.
All right, thank you, Alucard. Coma there saying, hey, I beat you before, I can do it again. Very strong words from Coma. And going into the tournament history, these players before this have never fought each other besides day one.
That's right. But that didn't stop Coma from bringing the fighting words.
Yeah.
He's feeling ready.
Coma is looking to bring it and wanting to take that $40,000 prize. I'm sure all the Dragonborn members here would love to see Jadeem Jedi walk away with that win. Let's go ahead and take a quick recap at that deck from Jadeem Jedi. This is Rutherford Ramp. Again, a very strong deck, a deck that he created and tweaked and brought here. What do you think about this deck going into the finals?
Well, I just want to give everybody a reminder of what it plans to do. It wants to ramp up as fast as possible to 5 resources. That's where the action happens. And then it's going to explode outwards with efficient drops. Hopefully use those to carry it to victory.
And those reserves options for Jadeem Jedi, some options for his opponent.
I like Periwinkle. I also like changing the gem for extra damage. We've seen this very same deck perform well against Wintermoon. I would be surprised if there were major deviations from the tech he showed in the last game.
All right, let's take a look at our other deck for the finals. Hopefully we can get that cleared up pretty soon. There it is, Wild Sapphire, Wintermoon. Again, playing the Azurfate Sorceress. We did hear Coma mention Reese the Crust Crawler, actually shouted out to Havoc from Australia. Again, this deck, how do you like this matchup with Wild Sapphire, Wintermoon?
I think one advantage this version of Wintermoon has versus the one piloted by Eaglov is the Azurfate Sorceress. If those stick, if they get down on the field, it will make Crocosaur a dead draw of sorts for Jadeem Jedi. He's not going to be able to eat critical troops, and that could be the very edge that Coma's looking for.
And reserves for this deck, what are some options he can bring in for his opponent?
I happen to like incubation webs. Again, it comes down to troops are almost more dangerous in the crypt against Rutherford Banks than they are on the board. Incubation webs just constantly exhausts a troop, and it will also create spiderling eggs, so that's a nice little advantage. Cuts down on Balthazar's ability to draw cards, so I like incubation webs.
So again, these players going to be battling it out for $40,000. This is where it all matters. This is where you put everything on the line, and this is an epic moment for everyone in the Hex community. These players, but really this game, where we're going forward with Hex. Either way, these players are going to walk away with $20,000. But beyond that, we're starting our first steps, our first journey as far as Hex and esports.
You put it pretty well, Snake. Nobody's going to walk away a loser. Somebody's walking away with $20,000, but only one player is going to walk away a champion, and that is what matters.
Walking away as the first invitational champion. This is going to be those moments people look back on and say, I was there, I saw that online. You remember that first champion when we look 5, 10, 15 years from now as Hex continues to grow as an esports. This is an exciting time for everyone here, everyone watching on Twitch, and we're going to finally crown someone the invitational champion.
That's right. It's been a long time in coming. Just think back. We had 12 different qualifying events, each one over the course of several months. I mean, this has been a long time coming. And we're here today at the summit, if you will.
We started with 12, went to 10 on day 1, down to 8 for the start of day 2, down to 4, and now we are at 2 players. Jadeem Jedi, Coma, going for this amazing honor too. Because besides the money, right? The money is great. Everybody would love to get some extra cash in there, but the honor of being that first invitational champion, your name being etched in history for Hex, and maybe trying to fight your way back for the next invitational and defending your championship.
Not to mention, I mean, we saw at the office those really snazzy trophies. Huh?
Yep, some really good hardware. Also going to be won by our competitors. Again, this match between Jadeem Jedi and Coma is going to be very electrifying. I think, like we've seen in the history of this tournament, these players do not do blowouts. It is tooth and nail. Every card counts. Every single point of health counts. And we are going to see an epic match between these 2 players. One will walk away our invitational champion.
Who do you like for it, Snake?
Wow, you're going to put me on the spot.
I am. I'm going to put you on the spot.
You're going to put me on the spot. And, we have the underdog Coma, right? The underdog. His record against the other players, not as well. We had Jadeem Jedi, who had a really great record coming in, had a rocky start, and he seems to be coming back. If you want to put me on the spot and you want me to say who I think it's going to win, I think it's going to be Jadeem Jedi. That's
he has
my
been
pick.
favored.
That's my pick. If I have to pick one, that deck, he created it, he piloted it, he made it what it is, and it would just be fitting. It would be that Cinderella story to come back 1-3 from day 1 and fight for the victory to be the invitational champion. Now, who do you like?
As a deck builder, I have a soft spot for Jadeem Jedi, but there's something to be said for the mystery of the underdog, somebody who hasn't had a lot of tournament history against these other players, making it all the way from an unknown to a known quantity. He is now one of the 2 best Hex players in the world. That's a pretty epic story as well.
It is an epic story. The 2 best Hex players out of all the invitational qualifiers, out of day 1 and day 2, down to 2 final players. You asked me who I liked, but the question is, what do the fans like? Who do they think is going to win? So let's just put it out. Let's see if the fans are there. They're in the crowd, in the arena today, who they think is going to win. If you think Jadeem Jedi is going to win, let me hear you from the crowd. If you think Jadeem Jedi is going to win, give me some noise. Oh, okay.
And also, for everybody on Twitter or everybody in chat, if you're watching us from Twitch, spam, let us know, who do you think is going to win?
And for those who are on Team Coma, if you think the underdog is going to come back, win, and take $40,000, let me hear some noise for Coma. Oh.
All right.
That's pretty close. It's
Yeah.
pretty close. So I guess it's going to be anybody's game, just like it is during the tournament. It'll be close. We'll find out who is going to be the best Hex player of the Invitational and of all the players right now.
That's right. I mean, you heard Koma in that interview. They've fought each other before. Koma has won against these players, but he's at the end of the day, he said it's a 50-50 coin flip.
All right, let's head down to our final match, Koma versus Jadeem Jedi, playing for the Hex Invitational Championship and $40,000. Let's take a look. Both players are getting ready. We'll see the customary, good luck and have fun. Just good luck on Koma's side.
I don't want you to have any fun.
I don't want you to have any fun against me. And we'll see opening hands for both players. For Koma, triple Sapphire Shard, Shard of Instinct, Wild Shard, Chlorophilia, and Arborian Rootfather. For Jadeem Jedi, looks to be a Diamond Shard, Shard of Life. Doesn't like that hand. Will mulligan to 6. His hand now is double Diamond Shard, Chlorophilia, Arborian Rootfather, Angel of Dawn, and Succulent Kleckodon.
All right, Koma has a hand with a lot of resources. Jadeem Jedi, a hand with almost too few.
Shard of Instinct for Koma, chooses Sapphire Threshold.
And Koma doesn't have any threats, though, so all the resources in the world, but he will need to draw into threats to seal the deal.
Draw for Jadeem Jedi is a Diamond Shard, plays a Diamond Shard. That'll end his turn. We'll go back to Koma. His draw is a Reese the Crushcrawler off the top of his deck.
Wow. You need a threat, and there it comes. Reese was what helped him get to the finals in the first place.
Wild Shard for Koma.
He's got to think about it. Does he want to ramp up? Does he want to toss down the Arborian Rootfather? I mean, I'd snap pick Reese, but then again, I'm not sitting behind $40,000.
That's a good point. Again, each of these plays can be the difference between winning and losing, but tunneling Reese the Crushcrawler is, in fact, Koma's choice. And we'll go over to Jadeem Jedi. His draw, a second Succulent Kleckodon, plays a Diamond Shard.
So 2 diamond, but crucially, no wild.
Koma finds an Arcane Focus.
I like Arcane Focus. Allows you to search for better draws later on.
Chlorophilia for Koma. This will allow a little bit of ramp.
Arcane Focus is one of the main cards that supports Wintermoon.
Arcane Focus finds a Peak and Windsinger, Master of the Hunt.
Ooh. Master of the Hunt is extraordinarily good. If you can get that down, you can keep that down, it will give you card draw after card draw.
Windsinger, Master of the Hunt, the card selected. Sapphire Shard looks like activation of Wintermoon will put Chlorophilia and Arcane Focus back into Koma's deck. Those cards will get when you play this draw card. Looks like Jadeem Jedi is going to activate his Arborian Rootfather and finds a Crocosaur.
Now, the good thing about Jadeem Jedi's position is that if he finds a single wild, he does have that Chlorophilia in his hand, and he'll be able to play out everything that he's been holding.
Sapphire Shard for Koma. He'll end his turn. 2 counters on Reese the Crushcrawler. Draw for Jadeem Jedi is an Arborian Rootfather. No wild shards yet for Jadeem Jedi.
But at this point, it is making the best of a bad situation. Is it wild?
It's not. It's a Martyr due to the ability of Arborian Rootfather, not the wild shard he was looking for. Over to Koma, who finds an Azure Fate Sorceress.
Azure Fate Sorceress is a strong pick. Do you play that or do you play the Windsinger? Both are very good.
Azure Fate Sorceress, the selection from Koma.
And that will prevent any of his troops from being hit by a Crocosaur.
A Chlorophilia for Jadeem Jedi, no wild shard. And he's forced to discard, and Martyr will go to the crypt. We see Reese the Crushcrawler online for Koma.
Strong start for Koma. Troops that are protected by Spell Shield and a board that Jadeem Jedi cannot answer.
6 damage inbound to Jadeem Jedi. This takes him down to 17 health. Draws some cards, finds a Chlorophilia and a Sapphire Shard. Plays a Sapphire Shard, is at 7 resources. Plays a Chlorophilia. And this Windsinger, Master of the Hunt, is online.
And almost more importantly, with Spell Shield so it cannot be removed.
Shield bot is created due to Reese the Crushcrawler.
I think Team Jedi needs a wild yesterday.
We see Arborean Rootfather being played by Koma.
It has quick.
Jadim Jedi forced to discard. Draw for Koma is a Crocosaur. And here they come. Full swing from Koma. And that'll do it. Koma will take a quick game 1 against Jadim Jedi.
Just goes to show you that opening hand, the mulligan, is a critical decision. Do you keep something that is risky but can pay out big later on, or do you toss it back until you have what you need for guaranteed plays?
Both players are going to go into reserves, find the cards they need. Jadim Jedi needs to find a win to force a game number 3.
And it also goes to show you there's some instability in Tri-Shard decks. Tri-Shard decks, you can play many good cards and you have access to a broader range of tools, but at the end of the day, if you don't have the threshold you need to play them, it doesn't do you any good.
Both players finalizing their decks. Important reserves that can determine if Koma is going to go on and take game number 2 and be our invitational champion. Is Jadim Jedi going to find the cards he needs to be able to force a game 3? This is a very tense moment for both players.
You can see Koma thinking about Carnosaurus. Looks like he is worried about Periwinkle.
Cards from both players being reserved into their main. Down to less than a minute.
This is it. If Koma manages to win this game, it will be $40,000 richer.
And more importantly, the Hex Invitational champion, our inaugural champion of the Hex Invitational.
That's an honor. That would be an honor, but it's not over for JJ. We've seen these games go to 3 almost every single time.
Koma came into this game with a lot of confidence, and you can see that in game number 1. Of course, Jadim Jedi would have loved to draw a wild resource, and we're going to go into game number 2 for these players. A pivotal game. Jadim Jedi wanting to get that win. Koma looking to seal the deal and be the invitational champion. Let's take a look at opening hands for both players. We have a double Sapphire Shard, Shard of Instinct, Time Ripple, Windsinger, Master of the Hunt, Reese the Crushcrawler, and Carnosaurus for the opening hand of Koma. For Jadim Jedi, Diamond Shard, 2 Wild Shards, Howling Brave, Suckling Cluckodon, Crocosaur, and Balthazar.
Again and again, we see this opening Reese in the first 2 or 3 turns. This has been amazing. He only has 2 copies.
Shard of Instinct will go for a Wild Threshold for Koma. That'll be the end of his turn. We'll go over to Jadim Jedi, his draw, a Shard of Life.
You know, I like the early Diamond Threshold on Jadim Jedi's play. If you have Angels in your deck, you always want to maximize the chance you'll get a free one.
Shard of Life for Jadim Jedi. Goes for the Wild Threshold, Howling Brave online.
And that's pretty important. It makes sure he can get to 3.
Archmaid Renlock for Koma. And we see a turn 2 tunnel of that Reese.
Howling Brave is a 1/1 when it enters play, gain a Wild Threshold. So that helps him play critical drops like Crocosaur.
Draw for Jadim Jedi is a Howling Brave. He'll activate his Howling Brave. Succulent Cluckodon will gain him some health. He'll go up to 27. Draw for Koma is a Shard of Instinct. Going for that Wild Threshold.
It was a pretty important pickup, as Carnosaurus is really important. Get rid of ramp as fast as possible.
Carnosaurus is going to battle the Howling Brave. Koma's going to gain some health, go up to 23. We go over to Jadim Jedi. His draw is a Crocosaur. Plays a Howling Brave. Swing in with that Suckling Cluckodon against Koma. This will bring him down to 19 health.
Now, this is going to be a major moment of tension. We can see a second Carnosaurus play, and we likely will see Howling Brave taken out. But by doing so, if Jadim Jedi gets his 5th resource, we could see Crocosaur.
So Carnosaur will battle Howling Brave. Another Carnosaurus coming in for damage to Jadim Jedi, taking him down to 25 health. His draw is a Wild, so that gives him the opportunity to play Crocosaur. He has 2 in hand with a Balthazar.
top deck exactly when you need it.
Swinging in with that Succulent Cuckodon, 4 damage. Koma down to 19. Crocosaur coming into the board. Now Koma has a Time Ripple in hand.
He does, and he can use that to save his troops and bounce Crocosaur back to the hand, but it's a risky play. If he uses Time Ripple, he's not going to be able to keep it to save a Reese. Should also be noted that Carnosaurus reads whenever one of your troops battles, you will gain health. So Koma's going to gain a very nice health buffer from this Crocosaur battle.
So Crocosaur is allowed to resolve. Still an opportunity for Koma to respond with Time Ripple.
And if he puts it back, Jadim Jedi is only 1 resource away from doing it all over again.
Well, he still has another Crocosaur in hand.
That's right, he does. He does, but Koma doesn't know that. We know that.
So it looks like Time Ripple from Koma to target that Crocosaur. And he does. Crocosaur will go back into Jadim Jedi's hand at cost +1. Draw for Koma is a Sapphire Shard.
We might see a Renlock play, but if we do, Jadim Jedi will get even more value out of that Crocosaur.
Tense moment for both players. Koma in combat.
I think he's really just hoping to present that he has some kind of interrupt, and we won't see another Crocosaur come down.
Looks like he's going to send both Carnosaurus over. That's going to be 4 damage. Jadim Jedi down to 21 health. And Archmage Renlock for Koma.
Wow, he is actually going to play it. Risky moves.
Activating his champion ability will put Time Ripple back into his deck and gets, when you play this, draw a card. For Jadim Jedi, gets an Angel of Dawn off the top.
Wow.
And Crocosaur, the 5-cost Crocosaur, now online. And that is going to target a Carnosaur and a Archmage Renlock. Swinging in with that Succulent Cuckodon, 4 damage, for bringing Koma down to 23 health.
This is huge. He needs some way to get back into the game, hold that Crocosaur, and prevent it from coming in.
Reese the Crustcrawler surfaces.
Now, Koma does have a Windsinger Master of the Hunt. If he plays that, he will have additional blockers, plus the ability to draw a card whenever Jadim Jedi draws a card.
Archmage, Renlock, and Carnosaurus go back in the deck with Wintermoon's champion ability. Windsinger, Master of the Hunt, online for Koma. Creates a Mimeobot.
Oh, not what he was looking for.
And Jadim Jedi finds a Shard.
Which means Crocosaur is online.
And we see a full swing from Jadim Jedi, Succulent Cluckodon, Angel of Dawn, and Crocosaur inbound.
And we'll likely see at least one chump block with the Mimeobot. Koma needs to prevent as much damage as possible. Jadim Jedi will always win an attrition race. You see so many health gain effects in that deck. Oh no.
Oh, this block.
If he blocks with the Windsinger, Crocosaur is a possibility. And we didn't see a resource play from Jadim Jedi, but that was purposeful. It was to make this decision even harder for Koma. Is he going to do it?
Is he going to block? He does block.
He does.
So Windsinger, Master of the Hunt, is going to be at 2 defense, and Crocosaur is going to come out and nom 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 is going to eat Windsinger, Master of the Hunt.
And that Reese the
And
Crustcrawler.
Reese the Crustcrawler gone. Draw for Koma is a Wild Shard. Activation of his champion ability, Reese the Crustcrawler, Windsinger, Master of the Hunt, will go back into his deck. They will get, when you play this, draw card. Arcane Focus hits 2 Sapphire Shards.
I should point out that both players, while it is looking a little bit tough for Koma at the moment, they're respectable health totals. 23, that's not bad.
Draw for Jadim Jedi is a Diamond Shard. Rutherford Banks Is an
Champion
option.
Power is online, yes.
It is an
good
option.
point.
Here we go. The Angel of Dawn and Crocosaur inbound. This is 9 damage. Carnosaurus will block the Crocosaur. 4 damage to Coma, down to 19 health. And Balthazar will now allow Jadim Jedi to draw 5 cards, and gain 4 health.
Yeah, it's a pretty major swing. Balthazar is one of the enabling cards for a deck like this. Health gain, card advantage, what more could a deck look for?
And it looks like he's going to bring Crocosaur back from the crypt with his Rutherford Banks ability. Draw for Coma is an Arborean Rootfather.
Now that Arborean Rootfather is huge. Remember, this is gemmed with Quick. You can play that Arborean Rootfather at any point in time.
Coma trying to decide if he wants to use his champion ability. Looking at Arcane Focus.
I wouldn't be surprised if we see a surprise drop of an Arborean Rootfather to get rid of one of these pesky troops.
So Arcane Focus. Coma trying to decide if it's just the Arcane Focus. It is. That'll go back into his deck.
That was really clever by Coma. Coma's fishing for very specific answers. Carnosaurus is expensive. It doesn't give you what you need.
Draw for Jadim Jedi is a Shard Call.
That's huge.
And here comes the Ruby. And here comes the Arborean Rootfather with speed and 8 damage directly. And Jadim Jedi doing 8 damage directly to Coma, takes him to 11, and a full swing will do it. Jadim Jedi is not going out without a fight, and he's going to swing in with everything and force a game number 3.
Can you believe it? Top decks for days.
Jadim Jedi not going quietly in the night, wants to win, wants to do this for his guild, wants to do this for himself, wants to be the Invitational champion, and that just ran away from Coma.
Well, it's not over yet. Remember, this is best of 3, so it's anybody's game. Coma didn't secure it, but he could still take it in this last match.
Both players making critical reserve choices. This final game will determine who will be our Invitational champion.
I love that last play. That last play just showed the power of Shard Call, the power of gems in Hex, and the flexibility that they offer to your deck building and reserve choices. I think it's really a testament to the deck building skill of Jadim Jedi and also the very calculated play.
Let's think about the piloting skills from Jadim Jedi too. Holding purposely that diamond shard to force Coma to block with Windsinger, playing the shard, and then taking out those 2 threats, Windsinger, Master of the Hunt, and Risa Crustcrawler.
That's right. This game could have gone very differently if Coma had held that back, just blocked with a Carnosaur, or even taken the damage, and then said, nope, you know what, I'm fine with card draw.
It just goes to show you the mentality of this player, of both players, especially Jadim Jedi with that play. I mean, he created this deck. He pushed this thing forward. He wanted to keep this a secret, and now that it's out, he is still showing why this is his deck.
That's right. You know it so well. You know the ins and outs. You can pilot between the cracks of other players' plays.
So both players making final choices for their reserves. They'll save this. We'll go into this final game between these 2 players. Game number 3 with Jadim Jedi and Coma. The winner of this match will determine our Invitational champion. Coma will play first. We'll look at opening hands for both players. Coma has double Sapphire Shard, Shard of Instinct, Wild Shard, Counter Magic, Arcane Focus, and Windsinger, Master of the Hunt. For Jadim Jedi has a Diamond Shard, Shard of Savagery, double Wild Shard, Chlorophilia, Puck, Dreambringer, and Crocosaur. We see a Shard of Instinct for a Wild Threshold for Coma.
An early Puck is something you never want to see. As Winter Moon, it ramps you up faster than you can build up your counter magics.
Draw for Jadim Jedi is a Wild Shard.
We'll likely see an early Diamond play.
Diamond for Jadim Jedi, hoping to find an Angel.
That's right.
Will end his turn. Draw for Coma is an Arborean Rootfather. Plays a Sapphire Shard.
And now there are choices. An early Arborean Rootfather means cheaper threats later down the road. Arcane Focus means known quantity right now. Which will Coma choose?
Koma decides with Arcane Focus, finds a Sapphire Shard and Wild Shard on the top of his deck. Selects that Sapphire Shard. This will end his turn. We'll go over to Jadeem Jedi. His draw, Diamond Shard, plays a Wild Shard. Chlorophylia for the ramp.
This is going to be a tough couple of plays. Will Koma keep open his counter magic so he can interrupt a puck? Or will he hold it up for an actual threat like Crocosaur?
Koma plays a Sapphire Shard, passes the turn. We go over to Jadeem Jedi. His draw is a Shard Call, and we see a puck from Jadeem Jedi. And quickly, Koma will counter magic that puck, and it will go to the crypt.
A very good bait. Normally, you want to counter puck 100%, but Jadeem Jedi is the only one who knows, besides us, of course, that he only has one 5-drop in his hand.
Shard Call. Looks like going to play Shard of Savagery for the Ruby Threshold. That'll end his turn. We'll go back over to Koma. His draw, Sapphire Shard.
And we saw Jadeem Jedi make a Sapphire Shard with his Shard Call. That is because the Eternal Sage can give you different effects based on your threshold.
Arcane Focus and Counter Magic back into Koma's deck with with Winter Moon's ability. We go over to Jadeem Jedi. Plays a Wild Shard, Crocosaur online.
That's tough. Getting rid of Arborian Rootfather gets you cheaper things, but you also are tossing your only other threat besides Windsinger.
Arborian Rootfather finds a Sapphire Shard, and Koma finds a Wild Shard next off the top of his deck.
Both players sitting on mostly shards.
And Jadeem Jedi draws another Shard. Swings in with the Crocosaur. 5 damage inbound, takes Koma down to 16 health. Jadeem Jedi will play the Diamond Shard with 4 shards in hand. He doesn't know his opponent also has 4 shards in hand. Chlorophylia for Koma.
This is game-changing. Getting Windsinger, Master of the Hunt, down and on the board gives Koma card advantage, and this might be what he needs to turn this around.
Windsinger, Master of the Hunt for Koma. He'll pass the turn over to Jadeem Jedi. Draw is a Soul Marble, and he finds a counter magic from Koma.
Oh.
Koma, with the draw from Windsinger, finds that counter magic. We see the Crocosaur inbound from Jadeem Jedi to Koma. This is 5 damage.
Koma needs to make a very careful decision. Is he going to not block because he's afraid of what happened in game number 2? Or is he going to say, look, I know your deck, I know what is in it, and I'm going to block knowing you have no way to deal damage to a single troop?
5 damage inbound. Koma has to decide, does he want to block?
And remember, counter magic can take care of threats that are played. Rutherford Banks does have the ability to bring something back from the crypt, but those are only troops, not constants.
A pivotal moment. Remember, these players are tied. The winner of this will win the Invitational, win $40,000. Koma, looking at everything.
I think you can spend a couple minutes.
Yeah, you can definitely spend a couple minutes to make sure that this decision is going to be the decision that will take you to victory.
It's $20,000 difference. It's a $20,000 minute.
It's a $20,000 decision.
I think Koma needs to keep Soul Marble up.
Going to block with Windsinger, Master of the Hunt, so preventing that damage. And Soul Marble, attempted being cast by Jadeem Jedi. Koma with the option to counter magic.
He needs to get rid of it. Soul Marble would be devastating.
Counter magic from Koma will interrupt the Soul Marble. Wild Shard for Jadeem Jedi, still with only resources in hand as we go to Koma, and he draws a Shard of Instinct.
Oh, look at that. Shards for days.
Chlorophylia, played by Koma.
Well, at this point, both players are in the same boat. One troop on the board and a handful of resources.
Sapphire Shard, we see counter magic. Does he go for the Chlorophylla to go back in, or does he stick with the counter magic?
I kind of like playing Chlorophylla because it thins your deck too.
So counter magic and Chlorophylla go back into the deck due to Winter Moon's ability. That will be the end of Koma's turn. We go to Jadeem Jedi. He finds a Howling Brave, and Koma finds Scorn of Oberon.
Howling Brave is not going to make that much of an impact.
Attack from Carcassor, block with Windsinger, Master of the Hunt. No damage dealt.
So you can see Koma pointing to the Scorn of Oberon. When you revert a troop, you revert to its base state, which means the Windsinger would have 0 damage on it, would be a 4/6.
Sapphire Shard for Koma. He has ability to play Peak. This would be for 5 cards.
Well, you got to find something to break this stalemate.
We see Arborean Rootfather, Arcane Focus ×2, Azure Fate Sorceress, and Shard of Instinct.
Arborean Rootfather might be the pick. He has the resources to play it, and as an 8/8 with flight, it can sail right over that Crocosaur.
A decision that could mean the difference between $40,000 and $20,000. Arborean Rootfather is selected.
Not to mention, a surprise Arborean Rootfather could get the Crocosaur completely out of the picture.
Peak will go back into Koma's deck with his champion ability. Very calculated moves by Koma. He'll end his turn. We'll go over to Jadeem Jedi. His draw is a Shard Call. Koma's draw is a Crocosaur.
I think one is a little bit more aggressive than the other.
We see the Crocosaur inbound. Koma gonna activate, play his Arborean Rootfather. And this is going to stand in front of the Crocosaur and send it to the crypt.
Remember, Jadeem Jedi can bring back that Crocosaur. He has 8 charges, so 1 troop from the crypt can return.
Jadeem Jedi electing to go with Shard Call.
But without something to stand in front of these troops, Jadeem Jedi is on a clock.
Howling Brave out in front of Jadeem Jedi. Koma draws a Sapphire Shard.
At this point, I wouldn't be surprised to see a full swing.
Sapphire Shard for Koma.
He has the board state. He has the card advantage. Does he feel that he is in a commanding position? I think it's a trait of many Wintermoon players to play it safe, though. We have seen that with Eagle-Ob and even to some extent Koma as well.
Koma with 16 health. Jadeem Jedi at 23. We go to attack for Koma. And he's going in. Looks like he's going to swing with everything. Arborean Rootfather and Windsinger, Master of the Hunt, 12 damage. We see the Howling Brave step in front of the Windsinger, and 8 damage to Jadeem Jedi. That'll take him to 15 health. Life total separated by 1. Crocosaur online for Koma.
That means Jadeem Jedi needs to play a troop.
Oh, and an Angel of Dawn, but in response, Koma finds a Time Ripple.
Oh, that is amazing.
And this Time Ripple is critical. We see Jadeem Jedi picking a Crocosaur out of the crypt with the charge power.
But he's not choosing to battle. There's nothing he can kill.
Jadeem Jedi. Now Koma trying to decide how he wants to play this. Does he Time Ripple the Angel of Dawn?
I mean, to some extent, he doesn't need to, right? He is ahead on health. He could just force damage through, see what is blocked, and just continue to swing with the Arborean Rootfather. There's no need to rush. as long as you can continue to draw more cards than your opponent.
Carnosaurus is the draw for Koma.
But with that much on the line, it is easy.
Deciding to go with the Arborean Rootfather alone inbound to Jadeem Jedi. 8 damage. This will take him down to 7 health.
Wow. I see. I was going to say it's really easy to rush and get flustered and go in when you shouldn't, but not Koma.
Decides to play Carnosaurus. And that'll end his turn. We'll go over to Jadeem Jedi. Finds a Diamond Shard and a counter magic for Koma.
Counter Magic is possibly the best draw. It's got to be an amazing feeling to rip that off the top.
Angel of Dawn inbound to Koma.
Counter Magic is your safety belt.
Koma down to 12 health. And we're going to see Time Ripple on the Angel of Dawn this time. That'll go back into Jadeem Jedi's hand at cost +1. Draw is an Azure Fate Sorceress with only 1 blocker. Here we go. This is going to do it. Koma is your invitational champion and will walk away $40,000 richer. Congratulations to Koma. Great match between him and Jadeem Jedi.
That was beautiful, beautiful to watch. I cannot express how tense it was. My palms are sweaty. I'm sweating just watching them.
Koma, the underdog. Nobody knew anything about him. Very limited tournament experience against all these players from day 1 to day 2 to day 3. Continued to show what strength he had, both in constructed, limited, and now in the finals. And he is our first Hex Invitational champion.
Taking down Jadeem Jedi, who by all accounts was favored to win this championship. Not today.
So let's go down to Alucard to talk to our invitational champion, Koma.
Koma, congratulations on winning the Hex Invitational and $40,000. How are you feeling?
I really, like I said, I was just happy to make day 2. I never would have thought that I'd get first, that I'd take it all home.
Well, congratulations. We'll talk to you here in a bit, and we're going to toss it back to Snake and Dinotropia.
Thanks, Alucard. Again, congratulations to Koma. Again, Jadeem Jedi securing second place, the second best player in Hex, walking away with $20,000. Let's take a look at our final bracket for the tournament. Again, Koma walking away with $40,000 and an epic journey for him, you know, to win IQ number 4 in Constructed, to wait all this time and go through to be here in California. And let's take a look at that bracket for Koma. Again, fighting through everyone day 1 and day 2 to be our invitational champion and the winner of $40,000. So congratulations to Koma for that win. Epic match.
Oh, I couldn't have put it better myself, Snake. Koma, as you mentioned, a bit of an unknown player. You know, Jadeem Jedi is a name that rings out. One of the leaders of the Dragonborn and a solid deck builder. But Koma, smooth piloting, managing to wrest a victory right when it mattered, and has proven that he is one of the best players, the best player in Hex at this time.
And again, you have to look at that top 4 bracket, and if you're a Dragonborn member, you have to be proud of those guys. I mean, you have 2 of your guild members, top 4 in this tournament. Yes, you know, Jadeem Jedi didn't go all the way, but you know what? He was in the finals. You know, Vazriel representing Dragonborn in the top 4. They've got to be proud. Again, Eagleoff from Russia. You know, I'm sure the people watching back home in Russia and all the fans here of Eagleoff are excited for him as well. The top 4 players in Hex making their mark in this tournament and really, you know, just solidifying that they are, you know, the best players in our community.
That's right. They had to challenge not only that Constructed, brave that limited, and then do Constructed all over again. It's got to be such an epic journey.
You're right, Dinotropia. Let's go to Alucard, who's with our second place finisher, Jadeem Jedi.
All right, I'm here now with our second place finisher, Jadeem Jedi. Congratulations on second place, a very strong finish, and $20,000. How are you feeling?
You know, it's always disappointing when you can't come home with the win, because I definitely came here for the win for the very first one. But, you know, I can't be upset. I had a little bit of a shaky day one, but day two, I mean, I crushed it in draft, and I won an unfavorable matchup against Eglov and made a good game of it in the finals there. So, you know, I've got no complaints. It was pretty close. You know, had a couple of draws there where I could have maybe gotten a Root Father, and I don't know if he had the counter or not, but potentially could have won. But, yeah, made it a good battle.
I mean, it was a really good day for you going 3-0 in the draft and then getting to the finals. I mean, that definitely has to be a good feeling.
Yeah, no, it feels really good. I feel like as a player, I'm better at draft anyway, and so it feels good to crush in that part. The constructed deck, and we've talked about this before, wasn't the best choice for this weekend with what everybody else brought to the table. And frankly, I mean, I think Coma was the hardest matchup that I could have had for the finals. So, you know, that's the way the pairings lottery goes sometimes, but still pretty happy overall.
And despite what you say is a tough choice, you still made it this far and have earned $20,000. So what does that mean for you?
You know, I'm probably going to go with the responsible answer. Just say, give it to the wife.
That's probably a really great birthday present for her. And what does this mean for the Dragonborns as the leader of the Dragonborn Guild?
Yeah, it feels really good. Yeah, I mean, we had three of us that came in here. You know, one of us made the finals. One of us made top four. I mean, I'm really proud of the way that we played overall. I feel really good about the way that we finished. And if I had come into this and you had told me that we were going to have one person that made the finals and one person made the top four, I probably would have taken that. Pretty happy.
Well, we're all proud of you here today, so congratulations on second place. We're going to kick it back to Dino and Snake.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Alucard, and great interview with our second place winner, you know, Jadeem Jedi. Again, you know, great sportsman, you know, really a pillar in the community of Hex, and, you know, congratulations to him. And again, $20,000 richer. I like his answer. I'm going to give it to the wife because ultimately a happy wife, a happy life, right?
That's right.
So let's go ahead and kick it back to Alucard to interview our invitational champion, your invitational champion, Coma.
All right, I'm here with Coma, our invitational champion for Hex, and the winner of $40,000. How are you feeling?
Feeling pretty good. There's nothing I can say. I mean, my head's kind of blown right now. I don't know, I want to go home and maybe just drink a couple beers or something. I don't know.
Well, we definitely enjoyed watching your journey throughout the weekend. You had a really strong showing in day one, going 3-1, and then you really brought it to the table in the drafting and obviously took it to the finals here. How has that journey been?
Well, I knew I had to get lucky day one just to make day two, and then I knew I had to get lucky in the draft. And then especially my semifinals matchup versus Vazriel, I was an underdog in that match. Like I knew I'd lose that match more often than not. I managed to luck out and and win it. And then Jadeem Jedi, he's a great player, nothing but respect. But one of us got to win.
So the big question, with $40,000, what are your plans going forward?
Someone already said go to Disneyland, right? Yeah, so I guess I can't use that. I might put it towards my house. It's boring, but that's what I'm gonna do.
Sounds like a dream come true. So congratulations, and we're gonna go to an awards presentation now.
Wow, that was an absolutely amazing series of matches. Exceeded our expectation. The level of play for competitive Hex is really, really great. We're couldn't be more proud, and I want to say thank you so much for tuning in to check out our first ever Hex Invitational. I also want to take a chance to thank GameForge, our publisher, who made all of this possible. They've been a great partner, and I want to thank them so much for all their belief in Hex. And now we're going to give away some trophies that we've had done up for the winners, and also a giant novelty check.
All right, so let's give a big round of applause for all our competitors today. They did a great job. So let's start off with our 10th place finisher, Infamous Neo. Coming in at 9th place, Satalution. Coming in 8th place, Sirius. In 7th place, Bootlace. Coming in and 6th is Value City. In 5th place, Master Machu. And of course, rounding out our top 4 competitors in 4th place, walking away with $9,000, Vazriel. In 3rd place, winning $13,000, Eaglov. And of course, in that epic match, coming in 2nd place, Jadim Jedi winning $20,000. And last, but certainly not least, our champion, the first ever invitational winner, $40,000 richer, Coma. Yeah, let's go. Hear it for Coma. Yeah, let's give it up for Coma one more time. Any final words for the crowd, Coma?
I thank you guys for coming out. I mean, we need to support Hex. It's an awesome game. Get your friends into it. I'm not a part of some big team. I just got a few guys that I play with. I talk to on Skype a little bit. If I can do it, any average Joe can do it. Anybody can do this.
Yep. Thank you, Coma. Thank you for that. And again, like Corey said, thank you guys for coming out and enjoying that. Let's give a round of applause to our cosplayers too, right? All right, well, the show's got to end, right? So thank everybody for showing up. It's been an amazing event. I've been honored to be a part of the casting team with Dynatropia and Alucard. It's been an amazing adventure for everyone here. Thank you for coming out. I hope you have a good night, and keep on hexing. We'll see you.